Welcome to the Be Honest Man podcast, a discussion among men of various perspectives on the subjects from the taboo to the typical. This is episode 12. How are we doing, guys? How was our week? Anything special going on?
Nothing special for me. It's a pretty standard week, just work. I don't think there's anything super crazy. I might think of something here in a bit, but no, it was pretty standard. I've just been trying to figure some things out with content creation and whatnot, and where I want to take some things. And I'm thinking about doing like separate YouTube channels because I keep putting various things into one channel, and like typically you shouldn't do that because YouTube doesn't know which people to send your content out to because they're like, oh, you got subscribers for this, and then you send it out to them, but it's a different topic, that sort of thing. So I've been just thinking about doing stuff like that. Other than that, pretty standard.
Nothing too. We went to a concert this weekend, and uh, Richmond had like a veg fest, like vegetarian festival thing. We went and did that. Other than that, not too much. Not too much. Been a pretty chill week.
And today we have a special guest with us, Roland. And,
What's going on, brother?
What's going on, my man? So how was your week? You get anything
Going pretty
on?
good. Yeah, getting over COVID.
Oh.
Yep, that was 2 weeks ago. This week, just dealing with the, coughing, residual, like mucus buildup type stuff.
Yeah.
But got through the work week, got to the weekend, got some games in, feeling pretty bricked up, ready to podcast. Let's do this.
Yeah. Well, I'm also feeling pretty good. The Patriots pulled out our first W of the season, so I'm excited about that. After
Cowboys
that
playing right now.
Terrible loss we
Yeah.
had last week.
How's the Cowboys game looking?
They're beating the Bengals right now.
Yeah, we're up 17-6.
There you go.
Now, so not too shabby. And I guess people at home will probably have noticed that you didn't hear Chris's voice or for him tell the week. He is missing today's episode. Unfortunately, we found out just a little bit ago. He's got some sickness at the house himself, so he's going to deal with that. And so instead of having 5, including Roland, we will once again just be having 4. And I guess
I got a 5th back there.
Yeah, 5th. Yeah, we have Roland's daughter, which I guess takes us into the point. We are talking about fatherhood today.
Yes. Today is about fatherhood. So, Roland, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, name's Roland. Mr. Steven and Sean there are childhood. What would you say that? Childhood friends, but like neighbors or
Yeah.
cross
grew up
shot
across the street.
Yeah, across the street from each other. Build power lines. That's my profession. Not the smartest, but I decided to do something physical that does take a little bit of common sense, I guess, in a way. And I'm a dad. It's pretty. It was scary at the beginning for sure, especially the way that it came about. But we're here now, and it's going pretty good. Yeah. It is frustrating, very frustrating at times. But it's more not the, a kid wanting to do the things that they want to do. It's more of like trying to guide them in a direction. Like with reading. I've been doing that. She's 7 now, so. Earlier we read a book and we were trying to recognize the word than, and it took about 20 minutes of writing it and repeating it, and just it's frustrating because it's so easy, and you're just trying to you want to help them, but you gotta contain it to a point, and just keep pushing them.
Yeah, that's gonna be the hardest part, I think, once we get to that point with our lives. But
how far along are you guys? Not
so,
you. Your wife, obviously. Yeah. I don't know. It depends. Are you deciding? Are you carrying?
I mean, with all the technology today, I probably could. But so wifey is, I think, 19 weeks. So definitely little man's moving around, kicking, and it's been very interesting with that. So
excited?
Yes,
Yeah.
I am very excited. And like I said, we went through IVF to get to this point. So wife and I tried naturally for 5 years, on and off. I went to a couple fertility clinics at near like year 3 or 4, but eventually ended up having to go the whole IVF route. So I got 1 in the oven and 3 in the freezer. So
What a morbid but accurate way to talk about that.
There we go. There we go. So with our other guys here on the podcast, we have one guy who is single, and we have another guy who here is married. So, do you guys want kids?
Go ahead, Steve.
Well, at times I think sure, yeah, but at other times no. And I lean more towards the no more often. I think I'm just coming to a point, I mean, you know, being 31 and realizing that I'm not even sure I want to be with someone, and then also the idea of like having a child and want all that responsibility. And maybe this is an immaturity thing. A lot of people say, well, eventually it'll, it'll hit you and you'll want it. And it's like, no, I mean, there are times that I do want it, but it's like there's so much responsibility and your life changes drastically because it's not just you anymore. It's a whole nother being. And
Changes not the 3 people involved, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of people that are affected
and
by it.
you know, one of the things, that's come up in a lot of other podcasts is that, I went through a loss with somebody that I cared about, and it just made me question a lot of things in terms of like relationships and then a child. As hard as that was for me, I imagine what if I lost a child? And I'm just like, I would never want to experience that. And so a part of me doesn't want a kid for the fear of losing that kid and then what that would do to my life. And so I I'm not sure that I do. Like I would say that if like I'm probably 60. No.
You're not planning for
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah,
it could
if
come
you found
up,
the right
right?
person,
It's kind of
and
I'm
you went
I'm
down
60
that road.
70% on a no. Like I'm 60 70% that I do not want children.
just in the
Maybe
time,
in general.
like where you're at.
Because I can only talk about the now.
Okay.
I mean, I can only wait but so long. Like I'm 31, I mean, am I going to be 40? I don't think I want to,
For the
who
record,
knows?
I am
But
40.
he is 40 and he's doing it. They've been trying for a while.
There you go.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't say how I'll feel in a year, a month, whatever, but I know that I've been thinking about this as I've gotten older, and I don't think so.
I also just go back and forth. I think I would like to. I'm in that stage right now. I'm not. There are certain times where I'm like pretty strong. Yes, I'm like, oh, absolutely. And then there are times where I'm pretty strong. Like, I don't think so. Right now I'm just kind of in that middle. Like, I think we would like to. I think we both feel the same way, but it's not gonna be anytime soon. And that's where we're at. I would say like 80% of the time.
But
So.
when you say like, but not right now, I guess I want us to dive into that sort of what's the right time? Like, what's the not right now? What are the things you wait for? What are, like those sorts of things?
I got a buddy who he's my general foreman now. Works out, got a great career, great girl. He was, dated for 6 years and married, and they waited. For them, it was owning a home and just being so financially stable that they were like, all right, let's, because that is a big thing for a kid, with economics and things. Yeah, they're expensive because I mean, you can, like myself, I spend a lot of money just on garbage, but whatever she wants too. I mean, just tons of stuff. I mean, every time we go out, she wants something, or she wants, steak and lobster for dinner every night for every weekend. It's like, okay, but as far as the right time, I think a lot of people base it on that. And then others, they're just out there having fun and a kid comes up,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what happened with me. I didn't have a choice. I made my peace at the time when I found out that because I was 25, I was heading off to climbing school. I was kind of like starting my actually being an adult, and I said, hey, I don't think this is a good idea because, like you were saying, it's not just one person's life, it was hers. It's the kids, how they're going to grow up, because I kind of already knew that we weren't going to be a couple,
Mm.
And I know guys that my best buddy, Cameron, he's got 2 kids with somebody, and it's just like constant. Like, I'm like, dang, dude, I can't believe you go through that. Like, he just gets crap, but people stay together for the kid, for the kids. And it's not always a good scenario. A majority of the time, the people I know that have kids with somebody that it's just not working, and
Yeah.
it ruins both of their lives. But the kid is somewhat oblivious, and they just keep on going. So
Yeah.
I know I've rambled on there, but perfect time. That's my bit, Sean or Indy. What about you, Indy? I know as far as like a perfect time, it was like you wanted it right then.
I can say I was definitely in a boat with Steven for the longest time, and everybody jokes on me now. I said I would never get married. That turned out to be a lie. I ended up getting married, and I said I would never have kids, and here
The
we
lie
are.
detector test determined that was a
Yeah,
lie.
yeah. So I was definitely a solo person most of my
Well,
life. I dated, but I was just definitely like, hey, I want to do my own thing. I don't want the responsibility. I want to have fun. I want to buy toys, computer parts, car parts, whatever. I want to spend money on me. And that was a very selfish thing to be, but not really because it was my life and it was my decision.
Yeah.
But I definitely, as I got older, bought things that I wanted. Like you said, got financially stable. My wife and I got married. Actually, we bought a house before we got married because we didn't want to come back to an apartment as a married couple. So we bought a house. Months later, got married, and I already had to propose to her before I bought the house and everything. But so yeah, we've got good careers, got the house. Only thing missing was the kids, and yeah, so we went that route.
Did anything change your mind?
I think being with the right person, and everybody else says it's very cliche, and I said the same thing when I was growing up. It's like, yeah, whatever. You'll get married. You'll know you're gonna get married when you find the right one. I'm like, yes, BS. Like everybody says that, and that's not gonna happen
Hmm.
to me. And it happened to me. And with kids, yeah, I think I got to a point where, like I said, I've kind of done most of the things I wanted to do, and having a child with my wife would it's something that we both wanted and something that we can experience together and grow our family. Like we've done so many things together. We've known each other for over a decade, but been together for quite a while, and we've traveled, been to multiple places around the world, go to concerts all the time. Like we just have a great time. So having that third part of it, somebody else we can share that joy with and our excitement for all the things that we enjoy, having that to pass to somebody else or experience with somebody else. And from all my friends that I've ever talked to with kids, seeing things through their eyes for the first time, something we take for granted, but like, oh, that's just Nintendo. But seeing a kid pick up a controller for the first time and they're like, oh, what is this? Oh my God, this is crazy. Mario, what's that guy? And, just experiencing thing through their eyes is like a whole new thing on life from what I understand.
just to throw out there, yeah, Megan bought Alana a smartwatch for it's just a kid watch, but a cool moment, and I've saved it. But she called me the first day she got it on the bus, and like Megan already sent me the link for the Sync Up Kids, and she called me on the bus and was like, "Hey, I'm on the bus." It was pretty surreal. And then the other moment that was a big one, she just sent me this audio text message or just an audio clip of her, "Hey, we're going by your house. I'm passing by your house." Just one of those things I want to save onto. But
Hmm.
yeah, like just things like that. I mean, she's always on that. She's sending little emojis to everyone in the family and stuff. So it's pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a time thing for us. My wife's still in school for a little while longer. Then she's going to be starting her career, and it might, she gets a job and immediately gets knocked up. That might be a little awkward. Um, but like we just got a lot of stuff. I mean, we want to do. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of that selfish feeling. It's like, yeah, I like being able to just go and just do my own shit, and not have to worry about nothing.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, we've got
I,
stuff
I
we
don't
want
think
to
you should
do.
feel bad. I don't know if that's when someone says being selfish or feeling selfish. I don't think you should feel bad
Yeah,
about that. If you know that's what you are or what you like,
yeah. I'm not like I'm not worried about time per se. You know what I mean? Like I've known plenty of people that have had kids later in life. I'm not afraid of that. Um, and it's just, like I said, there's just stuff I want to do. I want to travel. of course, you know, I want to do a lot of it by motorcycle. I could just get a little sidecar and throw the little baby in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't know about
Motorcycle
that one.
buddy.
Nope.
No,
Nobody's
we already
letting you
planned
do
on
that.
doing. We already planned on getting a sidecar for my dog. So
Yeah.
get her a
Yeah.
little
Do
eye
you
patch.
think Mom or Jessica's gonna let you take your child on your motorcycle?
You just got to sneak it out.
Yeah, I mean, put a little baby goggles and a baby helmet on. We're solid, bro. Like
A
it's
little leather cap,
Hey, they make it for dogs.
a
Why not
little
babies?
a little
little
1%,
chaps,
a little 1%er badge on her.
It's just gonna say 1-year-old. Yeah, that's. I'm kind of in the same thing. Like, obviously, you would ideally be able to choose like that, right? It's a right time or whatever in your life. But you know, Roland can attest. Sometimes you don't get to make that choice. I've been lucky up to this point. You know, we've. I'm sure Steven has too. You know, there's been scares, you know, along the way.
Excuse me?
Steven, shut up. But you know, we just kind of, I don't know, not managed to not get him up yet. But it's in the it's. I think it's in the cards at some point for sure.
So our next question is going to be: how would you, or how have you changed in preparation for a child? So, Roland, if you want to start that off.
Let me read that.
Like, how did you prepare?
How did
How
you
did
prepare?
how did I not prepared? No, bro. You can ask some of those guys from climbing school while I was down there. I mean, you know, we treated that place like college, but it was you know, I would get pretty much trashed and be like, I'm gonna be a horrible father. You know, like just I was not prepared for it. But as time goes on, I used to always remember people in the call center or just in life that constantly, you know, they would bring up their kids or whatever. And sometimes, you know, it gets old after a while. You're like, golly, I get it. You have a kid, you know, but again, that it gets to a point where your kid is a priority, a very high priority. And as time goes on, you start making changes. You realize that you have to, you know, when we wake up in the morning, I can't just jump right onto the computer. We go get the sun on us, as Liver King would say, and walk around the neighborhood and just, you know, I got to get her out and get her moving and get her fed and okay, let's start working. Let's read a book. So just I don't know, man. Just time changes once you have a kid. That things will
It
come
just
to light.
happens.
It happens. Yeah. That's something. You know, I'm sure there's people out there that probably my uncle, for example, him and my aunt, they are big religious, you know, Christians, and that was a big thing that they talked about when they had their kids. That we were going to make sure that they were raised religious. I don't think they jammed it down their throats, but they prepared. You know, they made sure that they were both on the same page on how they were going to raise their kids.
That's a big
You
part.
didn't. Did you really? I mean, you didn't really get to do that, right? Because you found out you didn't really want it to happen, all that, and
Yep.
then you went off to school for climbing, and then so like, how much communication, how much planning with her
Megan,
mom
yeah.
was there? Yeah.
I mean, I sent money back because I knew that we were gonna have to buy things. She did a majority of the work because I am at the very beginning had told her that we were gonna co-parent, and you know, she didn't want that because the kid came about because that was to get me to be with her. You know, that's what I believe on how
Kind of
things
lock you
went.
into a relationship.
Yep, and I just knew that, you know, I feel like that was a false pretense, and I didn't want to do that. So I didn't do a whole lot of prepping. You know, I was 25. I got my inheritance. I spent that on climbing school. I just went through a big breakup, you know, and I was pretty much just getting obliterated every night because I believed that love wasn't real anymore. I'm like, love isn't real, and just, you know, banging my drum. And I just kind of, like Sean was saying, I was ready to go work in California and start like just exploring, man. But talking with my uncle, I had to know that I had to come back to Virginia and be a part of Alana's life, and pretty much have been there all the time. I mean, if I'm not working, I get my kid, and Megan does not fight me on that. You know,
That's good.
she deals with her first kid, whose dad, he doesn't. You know, he tells the kid he's going to drive down from New York, and he never shows. You know, he makes promises, and because Megan deals with that, and then she's got this other guy who's like, all right, can I take Alana so you can have the weekend off or whatever? She knows, you know,
Absolutely.
she's got two sides. You know what I mean? It works in my benefit. Thank you. I'm not gonna say his name, but thank you.
Yeah, it's like because you get compared to the worst, right?
Yes,
So
exactly.
Like, you're
Yep.
like, I look freaking sick, dude. Like you
Uh,
really dropped the ball.
Oh, dude, it's very beneficial for my scenario with what's going on. But I also know guys that are in the same scenario as me and what they deal with, and me and Megan have a great, like, we're just co-parents, man. You know, we all we talk about is Alana. We keep it about that. We don't spite each other. It's really good, man. And I see other people going through stuff, and they constantly use the kid as ammunition to get back at each other, and it's bad. You know, my brother, he's going through quite a scenario with what's going on with their kid, and just to throw out there, because we were talking about it, but I feel bad sometimes that Kaylee, her oldest sister, that, you know, she sees her dad take her all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what goes through her head. And I've heard some things that have happened. She's, you know, she's growing up and she's dealing with emotions and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, I try to, during Christmas time or whatever, you know, I give extra money to Megan so she can buy her, you know, Kaylee. I'm like, hey, here's money for Alana, and here's money for, because she actually has two sisters. She got an older and a younger. So
Yeah. Well, that's good you do that and take care of them.
well, it's not a take care. Like I said, it's
Yeah. Just
one thing about fatherhood. You look at what other kids are going through, because
yeah.
you know, as I grew up, my parents were divorced. Stephen and Sean, they, you know, just think about back, you know, what you were thinking about when your parents were divorced, and you know, you thought it was. I thought, you know, it was my fault, me and my brother's fault that they were getting divorced. You know, that was was not. You know, it was something that my parents were going through.
So, Indy, how have you been preparing, if at all? Well, I'm assuming you have.
Yeah. We talked about it a little bit on the podcast before. Gave up drinking, let that go.
Well,
Not that it makes a bad parent.
Well, you weren't
But
like a drink all the time type of guy, right? Are you just saying you don't want alcohol around the
no,
child, or?
I was starting to use it more than I felt comfortable with, and I just didn't want to have that as a distraction going into fatherhood. So,
Okay.
I stopped vaping. I was vaping for a little bit, and I picked that up as a stupid habit, and I let that go. And then drinking, I don't really need it. I wasn't enjoying it, and that's when I knew something was going on. And I was like, I'm drinking, and I don't really want to. And I was like, this is not for me. So
Well, part of it is also, as you said in previous, is it's a health thing. It's
that too.
that, you know, you need to be healthy and whatever, you know, because, you know, Roland, you started at 25, he's starting at 40. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of making sure that you're in a
around.
better, that you're in a
Will I
good
be
state.
there? Will I be able to be healthy enough? Liver issues, I don't want to deal with that. I've already got high blood pressure, which messes with your liver. So yeah, it definitely was a health thing. Weight. I have a nephew, and I run around with him, and like I gave the story before, but just running around the backyard with him, he has nonstop energy, nonstop. And I watched him for like maybe an hour or two while his parents were out.
They do it
And
all day long, and then they
yeah,
catch the second wind. You think they're going down? No.
no,
That one there starts at like probably 7 in the morning. Come down all day long. Probably about 8. I'm trying to get her down, and then it's just like still trying to go. I'm like, how?
yes,
I'm like, did you get into a bag? Where did I leave anything out? No. Okay. It's just you naturally. Okay.
yeah. Like I said, just running around the backyard nonstop. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna catch my breath. Let me go get some water. He's like, all right, you done? All right, let's go. And I'm like, hey, whoa, let me chill out. So I'm like, my fat self, I got to figure this out before I get my own, because by the time my kids at that age are running around, that's gonna be another 5 or 6 years later. So yeah, I definitely got to get that under control. So that was definitely a part of that. But the other part, financially, I guess we're kind of ready for that, but you're never really ready. You know, you kind of just you take it and you make adjustments and sacrifices, and that
You're gonna have to let go of that speed racer.
yeah no
It's yeah.
yeah
Sorry, brother.
yeah.
I mean, what do you think? You're gonna be tuning up, running around, drifting with a kid in the back?
Hey, my dog loves it. Why can't my child?
Well, I don't think they really compare, but I'm sure you can throw food in the room and all right, take care of yourself.
There you go. That would be my son. Boop. But yeah, mentally preparing myself, I guess is part of that. And but like I said, going through IVF is kind of gotten me ready for that before we even gotten to this point. So yeah. So for the guys who maybe wants a kid, and for the guy who does not want a kid, maybe, would you guys change your lives for a child? And if so, how would you change your life?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, there's
Yeah,
like if
I
if
mean-
it was to happen, then I would do what I needed to do. I think that, and this is just off of, experiences that I've seen or stories that I've heard, of course, because I don't have a child, but like either it happens and then something clicks in you and you're just like, oh, I actually want this. And then you become like the person, the good father, or it doesn't click that you want it, but you just realize you have to step up
100%. Yeah.
and then you just do it. So I have no doubt that I couldn't leave a kid, right? I couldn't just be like, all right, well, good luck, like that's it's
Yeah, that
all
takes
you.
a certain type of person to strong individual. Well, not
Yeah.
strong in like the good sense,
Not
but
a good
somebody,
way, just a,
but for someone to be like, yep, I'm going
Yeah,
that way.
I'm
I'm gonna
ditching
name
this.
that boy Sue, and I'm gonna dip.
Yeah.
Suda?
So I
So what
would
about
I would change for sure. I would have to, even begrudgingly, like
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
I would have to.
I mean, if you're someone who wants to actually stick around for your kid in any capacity, I guess like you don't have a choice but to change, right?
Yeah.
Like you either change or you just dip out. Like that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess you could like be the kind of dad that like, sees them every couple months. It's like, "Hey man, what's up? Okay, our 30 minutes is up, so I'm going to leave," But, that's I don't even know if I would call that parenting. It's
Well, I
like,
feel bad because there's people out there that I've got a couple of guys I know that's not by choice.
yeah, no.
That's I got a good buddy of mine I worked with. Only got his kid every other 2 weekends. That's like, and I feel bad because he wants to spend time with his kids, but
Mm-hmm.
the courts, I don't know why they're making that decision. You know,
well, we can kind of jump into that. That was one of the things we were going to discuss here. So, you're speaking about a lot of guys who are kind of in a similar issue with you. Do you feel the justice system is balanced with family lawsuits?
No, not at all. I don't even. I think because of past of certain guys, 100%. It's from the guys. I don't know why we do this, but we fight not wanting to spend the money. It is expensive, man, for sure. Uh, when the courts get involved, and guys will work the system, but the system, after all these years, has caught up. And if you're a good guy and you go to court, it is going to be bad for you, financially bad for you. That if they get involved, and again, like as far as even with the time, if whatever the mom says, the courts hold high. Um, like just to go back, just from a previous thing, but when Megan found out that she was pregnant, and like I said that I don't think we should do this. Um, in the end, it was her choice. I made my peace. I said what I said, and she had the final say. So again, when you go to court and the mom says this, this, and this, they're gonna believe in what they're saying. So don't go to court, Indy. Do what you need to do.
Settle out of court. Well, I do know that there is a actor recently that quit working. I think it was a Grey's Anatomy actor or something, but he quit working because the lawsuit against him with the courts were paying an exorbitant, I think it was like 30 or 40K a month
Mm-hmm.
for this kid. And I don't know any kids that need 30 or
That's an expensive
$40,000
kid, boy.
a month.
Look at
Um,
you see those posts of the celebrities of these guys,
So he
what
quit.
they're having to pay, dude. Yep.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm not going to work, and then that'll lower the amount of money I have to pay. Like, I could take care of it and do it on my own financially, but the courts got involved, told me I have to pay this much, and now I'm supporting my wife who left me for whatever reason, or we divorced for whatever reason. I'm supporting her and my kid when she can go work, and I can help pay for childcare and whatever else my kid may need on my own. So that the lawsuits do kind of
It's
mess
almost
up.
like they don't take things into enough, like they view it too black and white. They just go, here's the amount of money you make, I'm just going to take this. And they don't think about
Oh, so
like
they
there's
have-
no
Well-
context. There's no like, okay, I recognize this is how much it costs to live in your state, to feed a child in your state, to whatever, and be like, this is how much you owe. Versus like, this is your worth. Okay, we're gonna take X amount from it.
Yeah, we get 1/3
While
of it. and-
allowing the person who ends up with the child to not even have to do anything because they're taking care of the child. Taking care of the child.
Yeah.
It's
So-
taking care is a big thing, man.
Yeah.
I did a week where I took Alana when Megan had her youngest kid, her younger sister. I did a week of single fatherhood so that she didn't have another kid, which Alana can kind of take care of herself, but it's hard, man. I was waking up at 4 a.m. When we were at Tanbark. I would take her to the babysitter. I'd work from 6 to 6. I'd go get her, and I mean, you had to stay on schedule. I mean, there is no time for yourself. We'd get home.
Mhm.
I'd run the bath. I'd be cooking dinner. I'd get her fed. I'd eat the scraps over the trash can. I'd get her in the bathtub. She's back there. And get her lay down. And it's a lot for somebody that's going through that. You were talking about her older sister, her dad. He works the system. He has 9 kids, 9 different women, and he will stop working to pay. I think he pays like $15 a week, man, because he
Wow.
knows how to work the system. And then when
Wow.
it comes time for back to school, Megan, he'll come down, get the older child, go out, and he'll buy like one turtleneck for the school year and some underwear, and that's it. She's like, dude, I gave Megan money for school, which was like $400, and then I took her out myself and spent another $300. That's just to get him back to school, dude. It's gonna be expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think the courts getting involved, like you said, will take a good guy and kind of deter him from doing what's right. And because they do get involved and kind of unfairly shift things.
Yeah, but you also have to realize it's a very blanket statement when we can think of just as many examples of shitty dudes
True.
who
very
shouldn't be
true.
involved in their kid's life. They should just be sending money because that's all they're pretty much good for.
That's probably
and,
most scenarios.
Yeah, so like I understand that there are those guys that kind of get caught in a bad spot, and the guys that want to see their kid and stuff, and for whatever reason they're unable to make that work, outside of the court. But the courts are this way for a reason. It's not just because they hate dudes. Like it's typically works.
It's
In
from
every
history.
other
It's-
instance, like it works the other way. But
We're
like in
creatures of
this-
habit, and men have shown that we have to be
there's
punished.
enough examples of dudes acting so shitty that you literally have to do like, all right, bud, we're going. You just have to kind of take her side. And so, like, you ideally you would like it to work better, where a case can go through enough that you can present enough evidence, to show like, hey, I'm not a shitty guy, and this is what I plan to do, and I just want to be able to see my kids and pay for things, and I'll pay what I need to pay, or whatever. But I don't know how it works. I don't know how much time. I'm sure those courts are just overloaded every day. They don't have time to really get too deep into anything because they're running so many a day.
They have to have that. They have a formula,
Yeah.
and like they have to use that same thing with every guy because they can't, because one guy will find a way to say, well, why am I not being treated like him, or so forth. So
Yeah.
they use that one formula because, like you said, they got to get cases. They got to go. money to be
Yeah,
made.
I wish they wouldn't use one formula, because I mean I agree with what Sean said. I mean, I don't think that there's like the court system is just this anti-man sort of thing. Like that's not my point at all. But you know, there are a lot of people who are seemingly unfairly just like powerless in this situation. Like the woman holds the power. She gets the checks delivered to her. She decides when and if you're going to see your child, all that stuff. And I just think that sucks all around. And I'm sure that it is also in the opposite direction, right? I'm sure that there are situations where it's the roles are reversed, but it's not, it's not fair for anybody when it comes to those bad situations.
It's also those situations are ones that you'll probably hear about more because they're few and far, in between. Where, I mean, you got to think of it like historically. Think growing up, right? And anybody who was in a single parent household, how many of those had a mother that was absent? I can think of one. So, like, out of the dozens, that the mother was the sole caretaker of the kids, ours included. So, like, when we talk about how it seems like this kind of general thing where fathers are just kind of getting screwed by the system, I think like with most things, especially that's in like that kind of fall within the purview, I guess we'll call the men's rights movement, that it's you're cherry picking a few cases in a sea of thousands upon thousands of cases to try and make a point. Do I think those select few cases suck? Absolutely. But they are minuscule compared to how many other cases go through. And I mean, Roland just mentioned a guy with 9 kids. You got a deadbeat dad with 9 kids. I mean, I know several dudes in the same situation. Don't see any of their kids, like I don't know any moms in that same situation. So it's just one of those. Do they exist? Yeah, but like it's the numbers are not anywhere near equal, and so it's always been one of those things where like I get it, like it does suck, but it's not a conspiracy. It's not some big thing. It's just Roland's right. It's an algorithm, man. Like they're like, hey, this is the situation. We have to go through many of these. Again, like ideally they'd be able to sit down and go through each one, but I just think
Yeah, I mean nobody here is like implying there's some sort of conspiracy or anything.
I know.
Like there's no
that was more of a
anti-man movement, but
comment on that whole thing.
Yeah, in general, I think there are clearly some really bad situations out there that are unfortunate where people want to see their kids and they can't, and somebody is holding power over them, man or woman. The opposite person is holding power over that person. You can't see your kids unless you do this. They're taking way too much money. They're sitting at home not working while the kid isn't at home, because the money that they're receiving is not only paying for the kid to go to daycare and to class or whatever, but also paying for the person to stay at home and not do anything. And like, there's just a lot of situations out there. And yeah, I agree. You hear about them because they're messed up. You don't hear about the ones where it's like, no, they set it up pretty well. Like we both do well and we're both happy and we're both whatever. You're not going to hear about those as much. I agree with that. But
Yeah,
I don't want to get
there
too
are still
deep
such
into
situations.
it, but like I'm not necessarily. I don't necessarily. I don't know. And being not in ever being in the situation, hopefully never being in it, but if a person raising a kid is a full-time job, like if you're one person, right? So why shouldn't you be paying for that? If you decide, or something happens, you have the means to pay for that. Like, do you want to? No, but like, they're raising your kid,
Well, I think what Steven is saying, like, is the within reason. Like, does it cost $40,000 a month to raise a kid?
No.
And but you're talking about like one case at it. I'm talking about like real life, like general.
But the example
stuff,
I gave was somebody who is paying so much that for the child to not be at home during that,
I get that.
time
Now
frame,
whether they just what they do with
home.
it, but like I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying like personally, I think that whoever the single parent is should be getting enough that they at least don't need to work full time.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Caretaking is something that takes a lot of time, and you can't get paid for it.
I don't know how much our dad was sending our mom, but I know it wasn't very much, and she didn't get it very often. And she had to work full time. We barely saw during the school year. We'd see our mom first thing in the morning, and we'd see her like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock at night when she picked us up from the babysitters. That was pretty much it. And then there were some summers where we just stayed with family, because our mom just worked every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's just a situation where it's like I have no doubt that dad made enough money that he could have sent her more and managed to pay for and helped out more, but either the courts didn't work in her favor or mom just didn't want to press it to. I don't know what the situation was, but I just know that I remember her
I would
talking about it,
think-
and it was not very much, and he would not pay it very often. So
I would think in that case it was more of a like because just knowing how our mom is,
She probably
you
didn't
don't
want to
want
deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to
Yeah.
help? Fine.
Yeah.
I'll do
Yeah,
it myself.
knowing your
Yeah.
mom,
Yeah.
yep, I agree. Yeah,
Literally just like, oh, you don't? Then don't even ask.
yeah, but
Like,
the
don't
point
even
is,
ask.
she shouldn't have even been in that situation.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think you probably think dad made more money than he did, but we don't need to go on this
possible.
whole
It's
tangent of
possible.
our childhood
Either
so.
way, yeah.
Yeah. Because I just remember when he told me about getting a raise at his current job and the amount that it was, and I was like, what? Because it was not a high number. After being years and years and years and years at this company. So, yeah.
So speaking of fathers and mothers, do you think the roles are different for a man and a woman when it comes to raising a child?
100%. I think it's you kind of like as each parent, you have a little bit of both, but I think the role of a father and the role of a mother is pretty cut and dry as far as what you should be. You know, a mother is giving and caring, and a father is kind of stern and tries to keep them in line as far as with discipline. Because what I hear she does with her mom compared to when she's here, it's completely different. You know, it's you give off different energy. It's not like I'm over there beating her, but I'm very stern with her as far as like, okay, you're not going to do that here, and she pushes her limits with her mom. You know,
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't really do that with you.
no, I don't play that. I don't have time for it. And it's not again, it's not like a time thing, but it's just like, listen, you're gonna act right here. You're not gonna act a fool. Um, One thing with my job, because I deal with a lot of kids that come out of high school, 18 or 19 or whatever, it is crazy that they're alive. And the things that their brain and just like, I'm like, how have you, like, your parents have failed you? I'm sorry, but and I, as a foreman out there, have to be the parent, and my general foreman, who used to be my foreman, I've been working there 7 years, and we talk about how being a foreman and being a father are pretty much the same, because you are in charge of their lives and you need to guide them. And when you teach them, some of them you have to be stern and tough love, and some you can't do that, because I've seen these 18, 19-year-olds that they turn into a dog and they put their tail between their leg and they shut down. And you're giving them a tongue lashing because they almost got themselves killed doing something, but they just, and then they will react as if it's your fault the way you're acting. Why I'm coming at you this way. It's like, no, you're gonna die. I need you to
To not
To not
die.
die.
I not like I'm here to keep you like not to die. So with Alana, it's kind of the same thing. When she was like I'm trying to think here. So we lived on Miranda. So that was what I've been here a year, 4 years ago. So she was probably 2 or 3. She used to play with wall outlets. She would pop the little covers off, and she used to sit there and play with the wall outlets, and constantly had to get on her about, no, you don't do that. And there's a couple of times I'd be like, no, go ahead, yeah, see what happens. But you can't. That I'd be on the Wavy 10 News.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. So, as far as a father and mother, I think it's pretty cut and dry. But I'm knowing their mom, Stephen and Sean's mom. She did not play around. She was
Yeah.
no.
She had to be both those roles.
She had to be both, and I don't. That'd be something you guys could probably ask her if that's having kids forced that upon her, or if she's always kind of had that
Stern.
side to her.
Yeah.
I think she probably has always been like, she doesn't take no crap.
She had 2 younger sisters that she
took care
that
of.
I know that she helped to take care of. So think she already had some experience, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure there was some in there, but I think at a point it also probably did kick in or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
raise it up a notch, having to be both. Because again, it's not like they split and then there was like this equal share, or even that there was consistency of like every weekend we would see our dad. I mean, we'd go long periods of time without it up into a certain age, well into our teen years, basically, that we would see him semi regularly. Before that, not really at all. So I think that's where it wasn't one of those situations where she knew that we were going to get this experience every weekend, every other weekend, whatever
Well,
it
she
was. It
was
was like,
dealing with
no.
two little hellions, so she was over
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah. So she had to take on those roles, I guess, herself.
And we push
and
those
do that.
limits, and them belts push back, bro.
There you
Yeah,
go.
she would also punish the kids in the neighborhood too.
She
Yeah.
would.
She
All good moms
would.
do.
it takes a village. Your mom was
The
definitely a
village.
part of that. Yeah, because your mom would punish me. My mom, she did some punishment, but your mom stepped in a lot to help my mom, especially my brother. And I mean, we had a neighborhood full of kids.
Yeah.
What
We were
Carla,
lucky.
Ricky, Nikki. We had Robbie next door, my brother, me, Sean, Steven. You had
Ray.
Will and Hunter.
Yeah.
At one point, what was that guy Ryan that was next to y'all with the pool?
Yeah.
Okay, and we
Yeah.
had a full neighborhood of just kids running around. I look nowadays and I don't see kids.
Dude.
We had a
No.
great
Our little
neighborhood of kids, dude.
it was crazy because
Kick
as
the
we got
can,
older,
hide and seek.
yeah, there were no new kids as we got older. It was very strange.
Some left, but those years that we had that big group, your mom was out there kicking ass.
But she
know?
was also the one keeping us out of the house too.
Wow.
Like she was like, "All right, go outside.
Yeah, but I
go outside. Do not come
mean,
back inside."
didn't you guys like? There was times when we woke up and we would go outside because
Yeah, that was-
we
Yeah,
the
we do that
consoles and stuff
regardless.
like that hadn't really come out yet. The TV
Yeah.
was there, but like we had
But
a
even
different
when
time.
it started, we would be allowed to play it, but not all day. And there were days where it's just like, no, you just need to go outside.
Get out
It's
of
like, yeah,
my
but I
damn
want to play
house.
this. Like, just no.
Yeah.
Go outside. I remember I'd stay down at Greg's house a lot, and I'd be down there 4 or 5 days in a row, like during the summer. I'd stay there for a week straight, not an exaggeration. Every night I'd spend the night. They'd be like, "Can Greg come over?" She'd be like, "No, go to Greg's house." And I'd be like, "I've been there for a week. For a
Yeah,
week,
she
I've
did
been
not
at
like
Greg's
having
house."
kids over the house.
People could not come to the house. It was her house.
Yep.
It was her house.
Yep.
We lived there. We were her children, but she didn't need any other children hanging out at her house. So yeah, stern woman. But you raised two good boys, two good boys.
They
So,
turned
There you
out
go.
all right.
yeah. So we hear.
They did pretty good. Yeah. Came out all right, went through some experiences, but I'm sure you guys have a good experience with your mom, and that's probably
yeah.
from growing up. That was one thing after I turned 18, I'd made an effort to start talking to my mom again. I mean,
Yeah.
it was I got older and realized I was like, okay, that's my mom. Let me have a relationship with her. So we talk pretty much almost every day, go out and see her all the time in Surrey. So
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, and on the flip side of that, we were starting to talk about kind of either mothers and fathers kind of had distinct roles or not and stuff like that. Like my mom, and I've talked to her about it. She says that like no, I mean boys benefit from having a man in their life.
100%.
She admits like there's some things that she could not instill in or teach us. Like it's just no matter what she did, she just would not have the capability.
Yeah, because she hasn't gone through
Yeah,
the
she
other,
doesn't
have the
the
same
other
experience.
aisle.
on a man.
She doesn't. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what about you, Andy? What was your, coming up like? What as far as the difference between a father and a mother? What did you see growing up? That
Yes, I'm the oddball here. My parents did not divorce, but my dad, he was military, so he was gone a few years here and there. He's gone for Desert Storm, Desert Shield. He was gone for a couple years for that. Had to go overseas to Korea for some training. Gone for that, so he was here and there, but he was mostly here, obviously. But dad, because of the way he was with military, he was gone. So when he came back, he was always the fun guy because he missed some of those years. And so he wanted to make sure, hey, we're buddies, we're fun. And when my dad retired, that was weird because he was here more, and then
He
was
was
trying
like,
to
"I'm
be a
over you."
disciplinarian. And I was like, wait a minute, where'd the fun guy go?
I need to get
So,
out of here.
but he definitely was. He definitely did teach me all of the father or the man things, respecting and stuff like that. And when we first moved to Virginia, um, was when my dad was kind of mostly here, the wars and all that kind of stuff. It kind of slowed down. So, um, my mother had asked me to do something, and I was like, I'll get to it in a minute or something like that. My dad came over, grabbed me by my shirt, put me up against the wall, and said, "Don't you ever talk to your mother like that again." I wasn't even talking bad. Like I was shaking. I was like, "What is going on?" He was like, "When your mother tell you to do something, you do it." There was no questions. There was no, "You're not thinking here. You go do it."
You
And
drop
he's like,
whatever you're doing.
"Yes." He said, "If you're acting like this when I'm around, I don't want to know what you're acting like when I'm not here." So he was like, "Don't ever let that happen again." And it never did. So,
There
so
was
Uh,
yeah,
no, Mom, I can't pause this game.
no,
It was
yeah,
just immediate, like, sorry, boys, you're dead. And
yep,
then he
yeah.
just goes.
yeah. Gotta go, gotta go. So, I do think it's good for the fathers to teach their sons certain things. I do think, I think the opposite genders can take care of those issues, or kind of, because a woman knows what she wants in a man, and she can try to say, "Hey, be respectful." Like you guys are both respectful. All three of you guys were, you're positive gentlemen, respectful to women, and so they know what they want. They can't teach you those things, but hearing it from somebody that actually is of your gender is something totally different. When your mom's like, "Hey, I like guys who are like this," or "Men should be like this," but when your dad says, "Hey, this is what you should be like," or you see that example, it's
Yeah, the
a totally
example
different
is the big
story.
thing, man.
Yeah,
That
we
is.
go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna say having that example, like a positive male role model, I think is huge. I really do. Um,
Me and you, we talked about this when Alana was first born at Starbucks. I
yep,
had gotten
yep.
into the reading the book. There was two books we were talking about, man. I still think about it to this day. But me and you had talked. We grew up without a father, and we missed out. Rite of passage. These things that boys are supposed to learn from their fathers. Um, my buddy Austin, he's got a daughter and a son, and he tells me all the time the son is a mama's boy. You always hear that, and a lot of the times it's weird that like the daughter becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? The uh,
Like a
Like the
tomboy?
focus.
daddy's girl. That's what I'm looking for.
Ah,
Okay.
Okay, so there's that polar opposite, but you have to have that fatherhood, and I feel I missed out. My dad, he was there. I saw him every other weekend. He was going through some things, but again, through the divorce and just being himself and everything. But we never really talked, man. We never talked like what I was thinking and these scenarios of like when you're dealing with friends or and I think about that today. Just things I've learned now that I feel like as a young kid, your dad could have
Oh yeah.
helped
Help
you with.
guide you through a
Yeah,
little bit.
guide
Yeah.
you through those things, man.
Imagine like us, all these decisions you've made throughout your life. That if you had some guidance, like growing up, it's like getting into a situation, dealing with it, however, and then getting the tools later in life and being like, well, dang, I really would have liked to have the
yeah,
screwdriver, like instead of using, a penny I found on the
But
ground. Like,
that's that wisdom that you wish could have been passed down. That now that you
exactly,
have, you will pass down to them, and
Hmm.
that's
exactly.
a big thing. I have a notebook every once in a while, write things down that when it comes time, I'm gonna present those to her. Here's a scenario. It's gonna be a while, because I want her to learn some of that stuff on her own.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the fact that she has her mom, she's got her sisters and siblings. She's got a good thing around her. But
well, I think it's important to learn stuff on your own, but the difference is like when you learn something on your own and there's no one there to kind of, it's like, and say you learn the wrong lesson, right? Or you don't get the complete lesson. Say you get through the situation, but it's not in the ideal way. Then you just live with that and you just move on, and that's kind of gospel now. Or if like you had someone kind of looking over you, right? They could say, "Okay, I see what happened. I see what you did. Here's how we do that." Like here's the guidance and the wisdom and other things to pass on. so that you don't. It's like at some point in your life, you're gonna have to retrain yourself. You know, it's like getting bad training. At some point, you either live your whole life doing things maybe not the wrong way, but not the best way, or you just get, you know, you make your mistakes or you make your decisions, and then someone says, okay, here's the proper training, here's how to do that, and then you just carry that with you the rest of your life.
Kind of like a
And
football analogy, just having that you make a bad play and your coach looks over tapes with you and goes, "Hey, this is what you should have done.
yeah,
This is how you handled it. This is what we should have done. This is how we're going to do it going forward. Hope you learn something and now go put it into practice."
yeah,
So having that father or mother, depending on the situation, to help you through that afterwards, kind of guide you after they're letting you kind of go out and falter on your own.
yeah. And that's
Uh,
how like some of us, like, you know, Roland, Steven, and myself will bring probably a little bit different of approach to parenting than Indy would, right? Because Indy's going to pass on a lot of things he learned from his father. Obviously, some life experience stuff as well. But me, Steven, and Roland are pretty much just passing on life experience stuff. I didn't, you know, my dad has literally said that he's more of an example of what not to do than what to do. So, you know, we've got to kind of go off our life experience and how, you know, we've done things, and dealing with any sort of parenting situations kind of probably in some situations going to be the first time we ever experienced that, where maybe the second time for you because you experienced it when your father passed it on to you or taught you this lesson or things like that, then you could pass it on to your son. With us, it's kind of like, I kind of picked this up along the way, hopefully this works, hopefully I picked up the right stuff, you know.
I wonder, so we're different in that, like Roland said, you and him, read books and you talked about these things. And I know you're very big on like there being a male role model and being all that. I've never really put much thought into it. Like personally, I haven't. And I'm sure that, yeah, I'd probably be a different person if, there was a consistent male in my life growing up and all that sort of jazz. Maybe I would be a very, very different person. But I never think about it. I never think like I'm missing something or that I wasn't taught a lesson or anything like that. And I don't know if it's just a me thing because the way that you present it seems like you are, even though we were raised in the same house, whatever, that like you feel like you missed something and I don't, I guess. But I guess I just don't see like, oh, nobody showed me how to fix this thing or how to hammer that or how to, but like, I
I'll
can
give
still
you an
use a hammer.
I'll give you an example of something that later in life that I didn't. My older brother, he was I looked up to until a certain point because he was gone too.
Mm-hmm.
He was a free spirit, man. He was out 13, 14. He was in the streets. That's where he wanted to be. So snitching or dry snitching or whatever, that was something that like later in life I learned, dude. Like, um, I'm not saying that men know about that or whatever, but I think about like I think my dad would have just having talked to him in later in life. I wish he would have been there and I could have told him about a scenario that like I in just passing wound up like snitching on somebody in middle school. You know what I mean? And they got in trouble over it. But I didn't learn that until later. You know what I mean? So um, to say, yeah, I do feel like I missed out on some things. Just not having that male role model around.
Well, I think it speaks to having, like you said, men and women go through different experiences in their life. There's a lot of things we all go to work, we all put on clothes, we all brush our teeth, but going through life in our genders, we do experience things different. And so being able to pass down that, hey, this is what happens, having that knowledge ahead of time and not having to go through it on your own blind may be able to shape things a little different. But
Part of it for me might be, as you said that you brought up your brother is part of it might just be that I had an older brother. And so did I get everything maybe that a father would pass on or whatever? No, because he didn't get it from anybody. So I don't know what he was passing on. But yeah, I definitely followed suit. Like one of the reasons I believe at least that I don't drink, smoke, whatever. It's Sean didn't. He's at some point he was straight edge, XXX. And so like he didn't do any of these things, and I was just like, oh, that's how you're supposed to be, and I picked up on it from him. Now he ended up becoming a cusser, but like yeah, exactly. And I remember being so disappointed. I was so disappointed because like basically I just felt like we picked the things that we made our stand on. We don't do these things. We don't drink. We don't smoke. We don't cuss. Like whatever. That's us.
And he
it's the
broke
right
the
thing to
bond.
do, and he broke it.
You broke my heart, brother.
you
Listen
don't
here,
have-
Mean Gene. And next time I see my brother, he's going down.
Yeah, he did it.
Sometimes the life choices you make as a 10-year-old don't have to be the life choices for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well,
your
sometimes
guns,
they do.
man.
Okay.
Stick to your guns.
Yeah, but just to the point, I guess maybe that's why I feel like it didn't. And to be fair, I still to this day, when things come up that may be traditionally manly things that we should be able to do, I go to Sean or my dad. I don't fix my own car. I go to one of them. I don't fix when things break. I don't fix when like I go to them, or I at least ask them what what should I do? What because I just never picked it up. But to me, we live in a world where I guess I don't see it as like, oh man, I should have learned that from my dad. I see it as like, I'm going to find somebody who is skilled at that thing and then either have them do it or pay them to do it. Or I'm very much a person with everything. If I'm not good at it, I'll find somebody who is, and then they can do it.
Well, that's fine. And I'm
That's
not
most people.
necessarily. Well, I don't think we're talking about specifically like manly things as far as skills, like fixing cars and building a house or.
Yeah, I learned that stuff from friends or on my own. My dad was.
But
I think it's more about the lesson or moment of something you're going through and getting that male and female perspective when you could go back to, like, Indy, is there something that resonates that you went to your mom and dad and got different perspectives on when you were younger that you had that ability to do?
Dating.
Okay.
Having dad talk to me about girls and what he went through and how to, but then you also get the woman's perspective where she's like, this is.
Did he tell you how to go about, or did he just talk to you like, hey man, this is what I went through?
Just be careful and use condoms,
Yeah, that's normally
that was
a
my
lesson.
mom. That was my mom. But definitely he was be yourself, don't settle. And when I had little questions here or there, should I call, should I not, that kind of thing, or so having that was very good.
Yeah.
But then having both parents was great because I can get my mom's perspective on it. And she was like, listen, your dad's full of crap. This is what women really want. Your dad didn't get me that way. That's BS. He thinks he did that, but that's not what really happened. So
I made the decision.
yeah.
I picked him.
And
But
it's
I think
very
a lot
funny.
of it is. Go ahead.
I would say it's very funny with my mother. You would think that, stereotypically speaking, a woman would say this and a man would say that. It was kind of the opposite in my household. And it was actually funny because just a couple weeks ago it came up where we were talking about dating, and my mom was very much like, "Hey, you're not tied down. Date as many people as you want. Date, get out there, see what's going on." But she was always preaching use protection, protect yourself, and don't get caught up in something silly. She was like, when you're out there filling out your tax forms, it says married or single. It doesn't say taken. It doesn't say dating. You're either single or you're married. So live your life. And I told that to my wife, and she was like, there's no way your mom said that. And I asked my mom right in front of her. She said, what? My mom confirmed it. She's like, yeah, you fill your taxes out. What does it say? Married or single? So that was
it's
something.
so interesting because my mom had a similar sentiment to me. Maybe not to that exact level, but she is very much like date around. Just date.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to
Have
be in
fun.
something. And I'm not good at that. Like either we're doing this
Me
thing
either.
and we're together or we're not. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't mean we have to be married, but like are we together? Is it an exclusive thing where we are pursuing this or are we not? Because if it's just, we're just hooking
Wasting
up or whatever.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if it's just
having
hooking
fun.
up or whatever, let's do that. But we're not going to act like we're dating. We're not going to be going out. We're not going to be spending a bunch of money. We're not that while we're doing it. But my mom is just like, yeah, no, date. I think that's because women get to do that. Like, it's very much just like, yeah, just check out your suitors. So, like,
Yeah.
go out with Harry, John, and Clay. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Wednesday,
Okay.
Thursday, Friday. And then go out with these three dudes the next day. And then, like, just cycle back through them and, like, figure it out. And I hate that idea. So
I think that's where you learn about yourself and you learn what you want and what you don't like. That's advice I tell guys at work. When they're talking about getting married. I mean, they're 18 with the same girl, whatever. And I don't talk them out of it, or I just tell them, like, talk to people, man. Date these women or whatever. Go out because you're gonna learn about yourself. That's the biggest thing. I mean, it takes a while to really know who you are. 25 is when I finally figured out how I wanted to live my life.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure that shit out.
Yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
always a process.
it's a process, but I think you get a kind of like a tree on how to go about it as far as
Yeah,
that
you
goes.
start to find yourself, and you know how you want to handle situations and how you will approach things.
Maybe
and,
attempt this way or so
yeah,
forth.
like you know your ideals and stuff. And the thing I was gonna to finish my thought earlier was I was saying you don't necessarily have to. Not speaking just on gaining skills from a father figure, like mechanical or otherwise, but like discipline. You know, not that you can't get that, but like I don't know how to put it, man. There's just
well,
a
just
just
hearing it
kind of
from
that
another male, that would be,
another male
like,
and kind of how their ideals, their morals, the way their problem solving skills. You know, if you've got someone who's actually kind of put together and has you know at least made it to this point in life with I don't mean success financially. I just mean with getting what they wanted out of life. Like that's a lot of good information to pass down. That is a lot. And like
Yeah, but that's more of just missing another human being imparting knowledge and wisdom
yeah,
onto you,
well,
not
it's
necessarily
kind of
just
like,
like a father. But it's a
well,
father, like that is the different perspective, maybe.
yeah,
but you're so I believe that like you're going to learn most from the person that matches your energy, right? Like I've learned so much from my mom. But would I have learned that better if she hadn't had to teach me both those things first off? If she hadn't had to be the mother and father. But if I had someone who I could look to who was the same as me, who was masculine or who was a man or any of those things, like that could pass that on to me.
that's what I was
Instead of
gonna go
thinking
with.
that I'm just gonna, figure it out myself because I'm hard headed. You know,
Yeah,
as soon as I
even you
turned
had your brother.
of age, I was out, bro. Like I said, I'm getting out in the world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so
you were
even you
definitely
had your
out.
brother, and so you had that masculine role for you there. Granted, he was just a little bit older than you, but you
Yeah.
had that
And I had
person
no
you could
idea
look
what
up
the
and,
hell I'm doing.
emulate.
Yeah, I'll say.
And
He didn't become masculine until he was like 23 or 24, probably. He went down and
but
worked on a farm or something in South Carolina and like deepened his voice and
became a
started getting
man,
all country and like
My balls finally
work
dropped.
working the
nah,
land with his hands.
yeah.
But
It
representation matters, and so
yeah.
they always say that with like race or whatever, but it happens the same thing with gender. So having a man that you can say, hey, he's like me, we have the same equipment. They kids mimic so much. Like my nephew he's best friends with mom, best friends with auntie, but having another guy, it was like now there's a challenge, there's a contender. And
Mhm.
so, especially as he gets older, because he's more realizing, hey, there is a difference between men and women. And so he's starting to lean more towards guy stuff. What are you doing, uncle? What is dad doing? I want to be into that too. And so he's definitely leaning towards that because we mimic what we see and we know the difference. And so we start leaning towards that kind of mindset.
So one thing, because the dating thing kind of came up and it brought up a question that I have then for Roland is, have you thought about like dating or how does it impact you having a child if you wanted to date, if you wanted to, because you have to like,
Yeah,
you're
you have to
introducing
introduce the
Yeah.
kid. And so before I had Alana, when I would talk to women and find out they have kids, that was a no-go for me. Well, to a certain point, because Megan did have a kid. I broke my rule. But if they had a kid, most of the time I wouldn't date them because I looked at, again, for some reason have always looked at kids of what they're going through and what they're seeing. So I wouldn't date a woman or talk to a girl if they had a kid because I didn't want that kid to have to deal with this person coming in and out. You know what I mean? Like you meet this guy and he's coming over or whatever, and you create this bond, and then he's gone, and then that kid
Yeah.
has to deal with that all the time. And I just didn't
Yeah.
want to add to that thing. So for like myself now, don't really even like attempt. A lot of guys at work like, why don't you try to start dating again or whatever? And I guess it's a selfishness thing, because I always did want to have a kid. I always thought I was going to have a kid. Now I have a kid and don't have to date anymore. Easy peasy. You know what I mean?
I got what I
the
wanted
kid.
out
I
of
got
it.
what I got a kid now, and I can do, like Sean said, I can go do things that I want to do, but with a kid now. She's getting older now. I had to wait to do certain things, like as far as going hiking. We haven't gone to like Appalachian Trail and stuff, but we go to Sandy Bottom and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. It is something to think about when you start dating someone that has kids, because they're gonna
They're gonna
it's
have a different
impacting.
priority.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're you know, a lot of girls, when I would talk to them, they would say, I don't want you to take care of my kids, like, because they were very proud I can take care of my own, you know. But that was something I would always think about, like, hey man, this not just you and this person trying to live life. You're now a part of this kid's life, and depending on what you're doing, those things will affect them. And I just tried to stay clear of that. You know, I didn't want to mess another kid up in some type of fashion, you know?
Yeah. So you have no interest in dating at all right now?
Not at all, man. I'll be honest, man. I'm kind of over. If I ever, come across someone and start talking to them, sure, but I don't pursue it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it might be just, I'm 32. I lost track, dude. I don't really pay attention,
32.
but
Yeah,
32.
you're 32. You'll be 33 in December.
I'm pretty sure my T level has dropped in my drive. You know what I mean? So it's
You're like, I
just
don't even
kinda,
have the physical drive to.
yeah,
to
I just
mate.
don't, back before, you want to go out there and date these women and stuff. And I don't know if that's because of having a kid lowers it or what. But
well, I think there is a correlation there, but it's also
priority.
It's priority, and I mean, you don't have a lot of time, right? Like you have a job that takes you like full mornings to evenings. You have your child on the weekends. So it's like, okay, I get X amount of hours per week. Do I want to then have to split them between me and somebody else and then me?
Yeah.
Like, do I want that?
And deal
and
with
it's
their
like,
BS.
yeah, exactly. And all the things that come with it. And it's like, no. Or do I want to spend that little bit of time going and finding somebody? It's like, no. But I do think, I mean, like you said, if you just happen to meet somebody, you went to an event and there was somebody and they were like, you guys hit it off, you exchanged numbers and you started to talk, then who knows?
Yeah.
But you're not even like putting the foot out there to be like, does anybody want to? You're just
like,
no.
No. Like you said, I mean, that is a big thing, because I would put that in my profiles, like, and I think they kind of, because I would put that in there, but like I work a lot, and right now we're working 5 days a week. We've been doing this for 9 months now. So that's from 5 in the morning. I don't get home till 7 p.m. Like what time do I have other than, eat,
then on the weekends,
shower,
off,
and then when I'm off, it's kid time, and I don't, and she's asked, like, how come I don't date? But I just kind of go, I'll talk about you later. I'll wait till she gets older. So I don't, But
like you got your free time. You want to spend it to play what little video games you can, drinking some Jack and Coke, and just.
Yep. Well, I'm slowing down on those. I think I've had to kind of like Indy. I enjoy the drink at the end of the day, but I definitely can tell that little chin down there is getting thick, getting thicker. So I could still do my job. That's pretty physical, but yeah, drinking needs to just get cut out for a little while. Yep, for sure. So. Did I answer the question, Steven? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, it was just about whether or not like you think about dating, and if so, like how having a child impacts that in terms of like somebody, you have to introduce them to your kid and you have to think about those things. So yeah, you answered the question.
Okay.
I guess at some point we should have mentioned for anybody who's not watching and they're listening, which hundreds of people do for each episode, which is exciting. Y'all haven't seen Roland. You need to turn this thing on and check him out. Go to YouTube, or if you're on Spotify, you can play it there because he's got the whole get up. When he says brother, he means it.
This is not a costume. This is a way of life.
You're missing out if you are not watching right now.
Not much longer. I did this for guys at work, and joke. I had the whatever, and one point I did the mullet. I had done the little Hogan like down the neck, which is just like so extreme and just like so silly. But I've just been doing it for people at work, and it's been a good time. Like,
what did Alana think?
She said you're silly. Yeah, she's just like, Daddy, you're silly. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm having fun with life. I'm like, go on, brother, get out of my way.
Have a good time, brother.
So yeah, it's been pretty cool. Then of course too, one thing is like a lot of looks. Like today we went to the grocery store and people like double look, like kind of like, what's up, brother? Like, they get it, you know what I mean? But they're like, is this guy like, this is his? He's really deciding this is what he wants to look like in life. Like
they're calling on the phones. Like, there's a strange man with this child. Don't know what's going on.
I was gonna say before, I don't know, that topic that kind of came up, and we can put this to the side. I'll just spit it out. But something I go to my uncle to a lot a lot of things, man, just because of he went through the partying stage. So because of him being Christian now, and he made that flip, I just go to him a lot of stuff because it's weird. I respect these people that went through just partying, partying hard, and then they decided, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. I feel like if they do that, to me, very odd. It's like a rite of passage, as silly as that is. Like if I meet people that have gone through that, but back to a question I went to him about because it was pretty surreal. But I have this when Alana going to school now and in the future, like I'm gonna have to have a talk with her as far as like with all these school shootings and stuff. Like that was a realization. I was like, wow, I never had that talk
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
going to school. So I went to my uncle and I asked him, like, I was like, just kind of giving him a perspective of what I was going through. Like, hey man, when you went to school, what did what's something your mom and dad had told you? I'm gonna have to have this talk of, hey, when this goes down, run. Like, just go, get out. Like, I don't know who you're with or whatever, but get out of there. It's scary too. One thing I don't know, Sean or Steven, like if that's something not necessarily that scenario, but I think because of technology, there's a lot more scary news. But I think about like all the stuff she's gonna have to deal with, man. It's and I'm hoping that I can have those answers for her, um, and she may not even listen to me, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I
She
can.
will. She will. My
For some of it.
so
Yeah,
for
yeah, exactly. You
so
looking
for my
like you look like Hulk Hogan. What? How am I supposed to take you serious right now?
I know for my parents, raising a young black man in America was a big issue for them. That was the concern. So, they always talk about the talk with their black child, and that was my parents had that talk with me, and it was like, hey, when you get pulled over, be polite, be respectful. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Follow all whatever they got going on, and if you feel any kind of way when you're getting pulled over, before you get to that point when they're starting to turn those lights on, give me a call, put me on speaker and let me know what's going on and where you're at so I can start heading your way if you're feeling unsafe. Make sure you're pulling over in a public area. It was kind of like you would talk to a daughter, hey, when you're pull over where other people are in view. But I also got the same talk of who you're going to the mall with, how many of there are you. People are going to view you guys as a gang, so you're not going to the mall with 7 of your friends. If 2 of you are going, that's fine. But 7 of you, people are going to look at you the wrong way. You guys are going to start acting up, and they're going to think you guys are something else than you're not. So those kind of talks my parents did have to have with me, and I don't think it's nothing any parent wants to have to discuss. But when they have those conversations with me, it was like, hey, sit down. We want to talk about something serious, and you do pay attention, and those things stick with you. So that's why I said she'll listen. When you said, hey, sit down, I got something to really talk to you about, she'll understand and she'll listen.
Have you had to have, I mean, I guess, or how do you feel about having certain talks being that, like, you're the dad? Like, are those things you and Megan discuss where you're like, hey, you're going to have this talk because
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
a lady
we
too?
we already have talked. Yeah, when that scenario comes, because I don't know how much.
Yeah.
I'm like I could pull some YouTube videos up and we could figure this out together. But yeah, I've already there are some issues and things that we have already established that as a father, that's going to be your talk. As a mother, that's going to be what you're going to take care of. I will say in the career field I am, it's primarily men who are testosterone up and out there again banging their drum, and I get to accumulate all these stories and all these things that I would be like, listen, this is what you need to look out for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's
Yeah.
beneficial. It's beneficial to me. Like, I get to hear,
What all
guys
these
will.
men are doing with these other
Yep,
daughters.
these guys will say, we'll go out a storm in Florida and they'll be on Tinder or whatever, and they'll tell them like, yeah, I'm thinking about buying a place down here. Like, we're only here for, they'll
Yeah,
string them along and tell them what they want to hear and butter them up, and you
then you're
know,
out.
um, and as far as if she gets older, that's totally up to her. Whatever aisle she chooses that she wants to go down and how she wants to. I just hope that I want her to respect herself. And I'm not saying that women who partake in having sex or whatever, that they don't respect themselves. I'm just saying, as far as like, I just don't want her to, I guess, have her heart broken, and go through those things to come to me, and then I'm gonna have to, all right, daddy's going to jail.
Yeah, I think that's the scariest part of
Have you found out
childhood.
what you
I'm
guys are
having a
having?
boy.
You're
Yep.
having a boy,
And the
okay?
ones in the freezer are all boys.
Okay.
When we did do IVF, there was a 5th embryo that was a girl, but she was missing the 13th chromosome. That is a certain syndrome. I did not Google it because I didn't want to know, but my wife did because she's a person of science and has that weird curiosity. But it is not good. So that
Okay.
embryo is not going to be implanted. But yeah, so all boys. But yeah, that's the one thing that I think deters a lot of people from having kids is, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of fun things that come with it, but the
There-
scary aspects of putting something you've created, nurtured, you love, you put everything, you've given up everything, you put everything into this one being, and then you're like, God help them, you're on your
Go
own
out into the
now.
world.
Yeah, and I know what it's like because I've been through it all, and it's most of it's crap or half of it's crap or whatever percentage you want to believe in. But you're like, hey, this is your turn, and I've given you everything I can give you, all the tools, and it's up to you. So I think that's one of the scariest aspects of being a parent or having that thought.
Yeah. I didn't know if you were going down the route of, you guys having a kid and you don't know if they're going to have some type of illness. When Alana was born, she had one of her retinas would not dilate; it would stay big, and we thought she had neuroblastoma. So I didn't look into it, but her mom, Megan's, her grandma, looked into it. She's like freaking out and whatever, and I'm like, that's not helping in this
No.
scenario. But guys ask me at climate school, like, what do you hope how your kid's going to turn out? And I always just said 10 fingers, 10 toes,
Healthy, man.
and that's all you can hope for. And if they
Yeah.
don't have that, or her younger sister has sensory overload or whatever, it's a type of, I don't know if it's autism or something, but
Yeah, probably on the spectrum or something
yeah, on the
like that.
spectrum. So that's difficult, a parent having to deal with that. So
Yeah, we
but you were talking about the aspect as far as preparing them for life. Yeah, I'll give her what I can, but I really do. I just want her to go kind of figure out things on her own, live life, man.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. I'm here. My dad, when I turned 21, I always remember he gave me this card, and it had said, life will be hard. It'll have its ups and downs, but you'll know your way back home. And that's always stuck with me. So as far as a parent, that's what you're there for. They can come to you. You do want them to get off the couch at some point, but
I think that's important. It's something that I think we've all been blessed with to an extent. Is like, I know right now that if push came to shove, I could go back to my mom. Like, I could. Like, I could be like, Mom, I'm moving back in, and she'd be like, what the heck? Like, but
I'd like to be
she-
there for that. I'd
but
pay
she-
per view for that.
but she would do it, like, because she is my mom.
She would grief you
And
the whole time.
she would 100%. And at a point we'd both be miserable, but we would do it because she is there for me when it comes to that. And I think that's, part of being a parent and being a good parent is realizing that it doesn't ever stop. Right? She always used to say, like, this is my time. I got you both to 18. This is my time. Right? Even though I'm pretty sure as soon as Sean turned 18, she was done. Like, my last two years was a lot of, well, what about me for dinner? And she's like, well,
You got it.
Like, figure it out. And I'm like, what?
Call your
But
brother.
I'm not 18 yet. Like, I don't, yeah. But I think that's a big part of it, is that it doesn't end right then and there for anybody. So, Roland, you're in for a lifetime.
Hey, trust
Yep.
me, I've been back home twice.
Yep,
Because I was living
moved
with a
back
bunch
in
of dudes.
when I was 25.
And yeah, I lived with a bunch of dudes, and one guy couldn't pay his portion of it, and we get kicked out on the street. And I'm like, dude, what? And he doesn't tell me, of course, until the last minute. I don't have the money. I'm
Because his
barely scraping
parents
by
failed
myself.
him.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're getting ejected. And so yeah, they come by, change the locks. Sheriff's there. Get your crap. Get whatever you can take, and you only got a certain amount of hours. And we're locking this door, and whatever's here is going in the dump. So yeah, I was like, Mom, I got to move back in until I figure it out. And she's like, all right, well, you're paying me rent while you're here.
I think parents, though, if they see that their kids are trying, they're willing to be
Yeah.
there. My dad
Yeah.
recently, and my whole family has pretty much cut my brother off because, again, let's see, he's 5 years older, 37. So he just hasn't gotten it together yet. And they're like, we can't keep floating you. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's about that time. So, and like you were saying, though, it's gotten pretty rough for him, which they did it multiple times. He went to Florida. He was homeless, living out of a vehicle. My mom, after he not talking to him, moved back right when I was about to turn 18. He moved back in, doing the same old stuff. They kicked him out, and my dad, same thing, bailed him out years and years and years. Like my dad, I think he had a strong connection to my brother just because my brother lived with my dad
Mhm.
for those years. But and again, Robert Lee Humber, second, third. It was his legacy. That was his son, and he tried and tried and tried. And I think it kind of hurts him to see that his kid just hasn't gotten it together.
Yeah.
I don't know. Recently, I think he is kind of getting it now, but it sucks.
Oh yeah. So do you think fathers are valued as much as mothers?
Like, I guess a better way to formulate that, do you think you get as much credit for raising the child?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's 50-50. If they're both mother and father involved, you both get uh, equal uh, value out of it as far as out of that kid. Macon has the kid for 5 days and makes sure she's fed and does everything. And then as far as with me, I try to guide her. And again, it's a discipline thing. I try to talk to her all the time, like get down on her level and be like, listen, you're going back to your mom. She's stressed out. She's your younger sister is a handful, and you need to help your mom when she asks and do what you're told.
Well, okay, so more as like a societal thing though. Do you feel that you are valued? Do you think society gives you the value as a father as much as they would your Alana's mother?
I would say yes. Assume yes.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got to think like there are so many movements in certain communities about having I guess like it seems to be like kind of a bigger deal like when the dad sticks around. You know what I mean? It's just assumed that the mom will. Like moms don't really get credit for raising kids. It's assumed like, hey, that's your job. But
Yeah.
when a dad sticks around and he's good for his kids, all of a sudden, a lot of times they're lauded for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, um,
Do you feel that mothers don't get they should be getting more
I think that
value?
it's just like, people raising their kids, they're just doing what they're supposed to do, you know what I mean? But I mean, when you've got single moms and stuff like that, I mean, that has more of a negative stereotype than it does a positive one.
Yeah. I think he's saying like the bar has been set so low for men that like showing up and
Doing the bare
existing.
minimum is
Yeah.
like, oh my
I-
god, he's a good dad.
you're-
He's there
you're
for
the
his
guy.
kids.
I've stepped in at grocery stores when I see like a single mom with 3 kids and like someone acting out. I'm like, you listen to your mom, and they're just
Yeah.
like looking at me, who the hell is this guy?
Oh
Because I
my
feel
God,
bad.
Do that
Hogan's
so
yelling
many
at my-
times,
I feel
dude.
bad, man. That's something like when I found out I was going to be a father, things started changing because you started seeing kids more, and you would smile like, oh, look at that little kid, oh, he's so cute, you know what I mean? And when I see kids out there acting up, I feel bad for those single moms because you could tell they are beat down,
Yeah.
man.
Up to here.
It's a
Yeah.
again, what they have to do on a daily. Um, they are not living their lives; they are raising children, and
Yeah.
they're sacrificing everything: body, their health. Their health, their sanity. They're just like they're making sure that they're taking care of their kids.
Have you ever had a negative experience where you did that and like the mom got mad at you or anything
No,
like
they
that?
smile. I've seen most of the time they just smile, and
Yeah,
you
because
know,
I've
I'm
wanted
just
to do that. I wanted to be like, if you don't shut up, like, because the mom just, throughout the store, the kids screaming, the kids whatever, and she was just like, stop it, so and so, stop
Jeffrey.
I'm
Jeffrey,
this
we
and
said
that.
the special word. We said dolphin. You
Yeah,
remember
like whatever it
dolphin?
is. And I just want to be like, all right, they're not listening to her. Maybe if I just like come in there like a booming voice and I'm just,
I think I get away
like,
with it because I've got her.
oh
Yeah, if
yeah.
you're just a random dude yelling at their kids,
Yeah, I think it would
probably
be.
not, dog.
Yeah,
Which is why I haven't done it, but God, do I want to?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
God.
oh man.
I mean, I went out with my buddy Cameron. He had his 2 kids, and his daughter is like 2. Different household, man. And that kid, the daughter, is like just out of control, and you can tell she's like looking at me like, oh my god, he's gonna kill this kid. Like
Like if
because
I
I'm like
acted like
yeah,
that.
I'm trying to like help my buddy out, but he is his thing is here, take the phone. No, just give her the phone. It's different
Yeah.
seeing these different parenting styles.
The
I didn't step
kids,
in. I saw another. It was a couple, a dad and the mom, 3 kids. One girl's like running down the ice cream aisle, like slapping the doors, and the dad. I was kind of like, man, where's your balls at, man? Like he's just like, stop it, come on, stop. I'm like, dude,
use your dad voice. What the
yeah,
hell?
exactly.
Yeah.
And fear the no wait, and still the fear. That's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad did that. And like I said, that was it. That's all it takes.
It
Man.
worked.
Like I don't want to see him go past this point because it was scary enough at this point.
Yeah.
So, when you had your child, and what about ideals? Are you excited to pass those ideals that you have down? And is that important to you?
There's some things that I want to pass down to her, but I don't want them to be like tenants for her to live her life. I want her to kind of make her own choices and figure this stuff out. But I will be here and try to give her, if she comes to me, tell her how to go about something. One thing I got from my mom, again, just from seeing and talking to her, but she didn't have a college education, and she worked her way up at NASA, and she outworked men at this place. And that's something that I want her to know, that hard work will pay off. And that's, in my trade, how I've gotten so far is just outworking the other guy out there, like literally like fighting over to dig a hole. Like I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight you for the shovel to show that I want to be here. And it may not correlate, I know Steven, you've said before that you feel like that hard work in your career doesn't seem to pay off. Do you still feel that way?
Well,
And the reason I bring that up, like I said, I'm going to pass that down to her.
mhm.
But again, she might get into something and do that and it not work. And again, she's going to be a female for where she goes.
Well, I think that's good advice to give no matter what, because no matter what, I think that's going to apply to 99% of things. And the 1% that maybe it doesn't, you don't set up for the 1% of life, right? You set up for the 99%. The only thing I can think about with that I would have said that in is one that, working in esports, for instance, is a new industry. And it is kind of a who did you know? Who did you know? Like that sort of thing. That's always going to play in to certain aspects.
Yeah.
And then I might have said it when it comes to streaming because, it's one of those things where I've put in 10,000 hours and I'm still a very, very small fish. And so, have I worked hard at times? Have I consistently worked hard? Have I consistently always made the right choices? No. So I definitely would not say that I would ever instill on somebody the idea that, oh, like hard work won't get you where you need to go. Because I know for a fact in my current career and the jobs I had in the past and streaming and YouTube and whatever it might be, I could have worked harder. And it is no doubt to me that if I worked harder, I would be in a better place than I'm in right now. Would I be the ninjas of the world in content creation? Would I be the biggest journalist if I put more time in there? Maybe not. But I would have been better at those things, and I would be better off for them had I put in more work. So Yeah, I would always instill that
Yeah,
to work hard,
that's
because
something.
even if it's just pursuing their passion,
Yeah.
if they work hard at it, that passion turns into something else.
That I base that off the relationships with the guys at work. The ones that I respect are the hard workers, because there's guys that are cool, but their work ethic is just piss poor,
Mhm.
And I base that off of people that I'm gonna respect. So I'm hoping that she'll see that with what I'm doing, and talk to her about that stuff. And I'm hoping that will help her. There's other things. Again, that's just one that comes to mind. I mean, what are some ideals for you, Andy? That it's early. I'm sure. I mean, there's
Yeah.
a swirl of things that are probably going
Oh
through
yeah.
you and Sarah. But is there's something that you're hoping to pass on?
Just being a good, compassionate person. Everything else in life will kind of come to you. And I don't want to put the child in a box of forcing you into
A way to live?
a way to live. Like you said, like I've talked to some friends who have kids, and they've kind of like, I want them to do this and I want them to do that, and they need to join the military because they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, the kid's so young. Like, I don't know what I want to do at 40. I'm still figuring it out. I'm thinking about changing my profession here soon after my child's born, but nobody has it figured out. We're all going through life. It's an experience. It's a journey. It's very cliche, but it is a journey,
Yeah,
and we're all just going through it. And you're just trying to be happy, support yourself, and have fun.
it's just
Like,
a ride, man.
yeah. So work, sure, it can be fun, but it's a means to an end so that I can do the other things that I want in life. So I don't want that to be figure it out. You need to know what you want to do. You're 17. I need to know what your life goals are. And if you're not, you're going into the military. See you later, son.
I feel like
They'll
they push that down kids' throats. 17, 18. I remember my mom like, go to college. Like it. You at those age, man, you're
no.
still figuring things out. Like, come on. And I'm
Right?
glad that I will be able to be empathetic in that scenario for her. And if she wants to at 18, I think I would be able to do this. Like, hey, do you want to travel across the U.S.? Like, I'll fund it. Go travel. Do you want to I'll go to college. Like, whatever she wants to do,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there for what she wants to do.
But it's also okay to like just work. Like,
Yeah,
hey, you don't know what you want to do? That's fine. Just go get a job. Just start working, make your money, pay your bills, and you'll kind of start figuring, hey, I don't like this, or now that I'm thinking about it, I really want to try this other thing. Like, go for it. Like, experience life. Go do that. But it
I got
shouldn't be
a
like a hard thing. Like, this
go
is what
ahead,
you need to do right now.
question for you. Has the topic come up as far as for him being vegan? Obviously you guys eat vegan and stuff. How are you guys gonna go about that?
Yeah. So that has come up with pretty much all the people we've talked to. So we
I'm
were
not. It's
thinking,
it's not a bad thing. I'm just
no, no, no.
I'm very curious. You know, you're not gonna have the right answer, but how are you guys thinking about going about it?
So initially, he'll eat how we eat because that is our household. When he gets starting to get to the school age and he's starting to go out and see how other kids live, and that point, hey, you decide how you want to live your life. If you decide, hey, I want to try a real chicken nugget, that's fine. We'll get you the real chicken nuggets. You can eat those. You like it, that's fine. If not, you can stick to eating what we're eating. I'm not going to force a dietary restriction on a child.
Would
Um,
you would you cook him a meal,
I
a
have no problem. My
a
I
carnivore meal to like at a
No
certain
problem.
age to try it and see if he likes it?
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
no problem with that. My wife, on the other hand, she's like, if that happens, that's going to be all you. And I'm like, that's fine. Because I didn't come into it until much later in life. Like I said, there is like a 10-year gap between my wife age and my age, but we both been
so you cradle
um,
robin?
and no, but the
Jesus.
but the we both been having we both had our dietary restrictions for the same amount of time, but hers happened earlier in life. So I ate meat up until whenever and had a good time doing it. And it wasn't until I had a coworker who was like, "Hey, I'm vegan and you should try it." And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I like a challenge. I'll do it for 30 days and see how I feel." And I did it, and I was like, "Yeah, this isn't bad." And I was like, then it became
It's
like a challenge.
it's a
And I was
very
like,
healthy living, I can tell you. I did the same
eh,
thing.
it depends on how you eat.
It
That's
definitely
the
depends
myth.
on how they eat.
That's the myth. So it's like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
not just eating vegetables. There's Doritos, there's Oreos, there's all potatoes. All these
Yeah.
things are vegan. They're not good for you, and
Yeah.
you can have a good time with those if you want to. But yeah, so I definitely think that going that route, if he says, hey, I want to eat chicken, whatever, I'll cook you up a meal. And it's really easy to do. The meat part can be added to any meal. We're doing steak and potatoes. Potatoes cooked. You get your regular steak, we'll get the vegan steak, and life goes on. So, but I don't want to impose that on that child. So
That's an interesting discussion that I think it's kind of cool to hear people talking now, because people are a little more open, because growing up, I want to say most people, I mean, you got raised the way that your parents lived. If they were religious, congratulations, you're religious.
Yeah.
Right? If they were this, congratulations, you're that. And so I think it's cool to hear that, like, yeah, they can try that. But I mean, it's interesting because, for instance, we were raised by our mom, who I think may have said she was Christian or something, but it was more of just like, sure, like,
Sure, I guess I am. Yeah, whatever.
yeah, but like, we were never really religious, but dad's side was and is. And it's kind of like, I wonder how different we would be had we been raised in that situation. Now, we went to churches with friends, with family, with babysitters and all that, and still ended up, or at least I did, like, non-religious. So that's just interesting, because nothing was really forced on us in terms of that. Like, mom never really did anything in terms of like, okay, you're a Christian, okay, you eat this way, or anything like that. It was just like, obey me, I am the one true. And then it was just
Yeah.
like, that's it.
Beyond just listening to what I say, live your life, but just
Yeah.
don't bother me.
I think that talking to a buddy, I think that has to do with politics too. As far as how you're raised. Your parents. Most of the time, both parties are going to have the same political view. I think that's a big thing, because that's what my dad, when he remarried, he made sure that his next wife was going to be Democrat. That was like a staple for him. So, like you said, I think a lot of things are dictated again by your parents, and then as you get older, you start making those choices for yourself.
Figuring it out.
Yeah. What about Sean? What about you? What are some ideals that you might pass down to a young little misfit?
Oh, I'm forcing them to be vegan. I'm forcing
okay.
no, man. Like, I don't know.
I could see it.
You're gonna ride two wheels. You're gonna throw celery at people.
No, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna be my whole goal would be just be as positive influence as I can. Always try to think of like what would I have liked, and mostly it comes down to the discipline, man. Like, if I would have had some discipline growing up, I feel like I could have been capable of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I lacked any. I literally did not have any discipline. I could not I could start stuff, but to finish anything, absolutely not. Never. I mean, that's just how I lived my life. I just had no discipline. And not that I'm necessarily going to be running a strict regimented military campaign on my child, but
you're going to show them. You're going to show them, yeah.
It's like, this is what I figured out. Probably too late in life, but here's it early for you, like at the appropriate time. That's the big thing, man. It's just, I just want to make sure that, that they have the opportunity to grow in a healthy way. And I'm not a real pushy person, but who knows, that could change it, once you have a kid.
I'm kind of curious how you're a pushy guy.
Your brother's face was so priceless.
He's like, wait a minute.
I feel like anybody who doesn't actually watch, like, it's boring most of the time to watch, right? It's just people talking, so it's fine to listen to. But there are moments when my brother speaks where people were just watching. He's like, yeah, I feel this way, or I was never really like this, and I'm just like, what? Yeah.
With Alana, she's going back to school now, and Alana is very social butterfly and very nice to other kids. And I started thinking, when I went to school or whatever, going to school and being around others is going to change her, because she's
Yes.
gonna meet these other kids who are mean or don't respect her, or you know how things go. And that's just something that I told Megan within the last couple of weeks. Like, I'm I don't want her to change. I want her to go to public school and go through those things, those interactions, and those learning about the world. I just hope it doesn't take that from her. Her kind spirit and just so like loving about just anything. You know what I mean? Like just trees. It's crazy. You know.
I think
I
you
just
guys will help reinforce that in
Yeah.
them, and those core things that you instill in your child before they go to school. I don't think they really change.
well,
Um,
I'm not instilling that into it. That's just how she naturally
yeah,
is. You know.
yeah,
So the
but I don't
world
think they'll
will
change.
kind of mold them into a different person. I know I've
Yeah.
changed from being when I was 6. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
You're
that's part of life though, is you grow and, but at least like she's starting in a place that is like, okay, this is good. Not all
Yeah.
kids are like that. So even if
Yeah.
it does dampen that spark a little bit, which maybe it won't, or maybe it'll just transition it into a different way, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden she'll be an activist for trees.
Yeah.
Because like that's just how she grew up
Mhm.
and built that sort of connection or whatever. But
Yeah, I do know that with my nephew and the kids when he's starting to go to school now, so kids are teaching him things that he had never learned at home. Like he came up and told his my sister in law, he was like, I would never call you um, a vagina, but not in that polite term. And
Oh, okay.
she was like, what do you mean? He was like, well, you're not like that. She's like, what does that even mean? And he was like, well, somebody who's not brave, but you're brave, mommy, so I would never call you that. And so,
Like, why are you
like,
bringing it up? What the hell, bro?
he's like in the first grade, and this is already what he's learning, and so these kids are,
Like, dang
it's
kid.
a whole different,
These
lifestyle
it's
for
totally,
these
yeah.
kids, and so yeah, it's definitely going to be hard, I think, for me. Like you've done what you can, and then you're like, all right, here you go, you're off to school, and you're going to get other opinions and life choices, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
I want to know about raising a kid in this age of technology.
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah, like I mean, between TikTok, everything. Like there's just a million things now, and they're greatly influencing kids these days. I mean, I told this story. I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, Roland, but
I've heard some there was a couple of them I went all the way through, but go ahead. Yep.
yeah. So it might have been in the last one or the one before. I think it was the Nerds and Hobbies one, where I brought up that a lot of the things that Sean and I got into as kids were because of you, because you had more financial resources, right? Like your mom and stepdad and stuff. Yeah, like you guys could do that. And so like gaming and computers and magic and all these things, like Counter-Strike, like my career,
skateboard,
everything, right? What I do as a job and as a hobby came from Counter-Strike, which came through you. And so, thinking about those things, but it took me to the technology part. That's really all we would do then, was if we played Counter-Strike or Xbox or something. Like that was it. Right? There wasn't social media like that. Eventually, MySpace came around, and there was some of that, but nothing too crazy. You just it was so much more effort. You had to get on a computer, go on there, do whatever. You got 56K. If somebody need to make a phone call, you're back off. That sort of thing.
Ugh.
And now everybody's walking around with a computer. They're just walking around with a computer. They're always on Twitter. They're always on TikTok.
And they're
Stuff like
connected
that.
to the internet.
Yeah, exactly. And that internet is faster than what we had. So, I guess I'm curious, because you just said she got like a smartwatch and she's able to like send these little calls and do whatever. Like raising a kid and you have to think about TikTok is filled with kids doing dumb things.
She does it all day. She loves watching TikTok, but she likes the dances. That's she'll sit there and practice dance moves. So she loves the dance. So, keep going.
Well, just how does that impact you? Because I guess you didn't grow up with that, and it's a whole new world in a way. It's odd to think about, but even if we understand TikTok and all that, we didn't grow up with it. We're seeing it happen as we're adults, 30-year-olds,
Yeah.
And so the idea that, because there's way more than dancing on TikTok, right?
Yeah,
like there's some stuff on there that kids shouldn't see or experience, and they're learning from some of these people and seeing some of these things that they shouldn't. And there are creepy people out there on TikTok. And so, like, what is it like having a 7-year-old in that world?
Well, because she doesn't have the phone, and again, I've got restrictions like that's just kids, so it's only kid stuff, which I've watched some of them, and I'm pretty surprised it gets away with being a kid filter, like the way they talk. Because I mean, they're literally like making sales. You know what I mean? Like talking
Yeah.
about like buying toys and things like that. But I try to limit it. And again, it's just now starting. As far as like when it gets older, I just have to talk to her about it. You know what I mean? And like you said, like I even asked Megan about that watch. As far as like, will she get spam text messages of, "Hey, free phone," and then like I joked with Megan, I'm like, she doesn't know her social security number yet, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, free phone, put in all your info. And that was something. Luckily, we kind of got the internet when it first started, and we learned those things. Like, when I make just guys at work or whatever, like my Instagram and all my stuff is my handle, I wrestled a pizza. I don't use my real name. I don't use nothing that is connected to me, and that's something I'm hoping to pass to her. Like, listen, don't put all your info out there. Don't use these TikToks. Like, make it a mystery. Like, you
Yeah.
don't need to be on this stuff.
Well, it's literacy, right? It's internet literacy that we are kind of in this unique situation where we grew up with it as it became a modern technology. So we understand it differently than young kids or even like,
Old people.
teenagers these days, or at the same time, our parents, right? So we're that middle where we understand it completely. We know what you're supposed to do and not do. But the older
Technology
people
savvy, yeah,
are like the same as the kids. Neither one of them have any idea what the hell they're doing, and they're doing all the wrong things.
Like on Facebook, where they ask you for your job, your current job, who's your aunt, who's your uncle, where did you live when you were a kid? You're filling out a job application and just giving it to Facebook. Anybody searches your name and they go, "Oh, he used to date this person. Oh, there's his aunt. Oh, there's his job. Oh, that's
And
his
then
favorite color."
but at the same time, right? People our age are creating these exact profiles for their children with all of their information.
Yeah,
and
that's
all of
another
this.
thing. Yeah, I see these IGs of just like so and so, whatever. I'm like, why? Please don't do that.
So where do you stand on that? Like, your child having an Instagram and a Twitter and stuff like
It'll
that?
be much later, much later. As far as like me and Megan have not talked about that yet, but
Yeah,
that time will come.
like
and
if I had a kid, they would be adults. Like,
you would adopt
you wouldn't get
older man?
No. I mean, like, before they could access any of that. Like, you
Yeah.
would be a full-grown adult before you could have an Instagram. Not 18. Like, you're gonna be like 24 before
You better be
get
out
an
of the
Instagram.
house.
Yeah, out of the
I mean,
house, get your own
you can
Facebook.
only restrict them to a certain point, but
Yeah.
as far as like,
lock them in the basement.
yeah, you have to talk to them about that, and those are things I think about as far as that comes. Like, she can play some video games. That's cool to play with, like the Atari and stuff like that. But that's it's coming. Like you said, the phone thing, and that was something I told Megan, joking. Like, she's probably on the bus, with her phone making phone calls, and there's probably a kid next to him with an iPhone 14. Like, you peasant.
Yeah.
You know?
The other thing is, it's when it comes to this, because it's so prevalent today, is there's all this OnlyFans and like women using their bodies and stuff to make money, and sexual dances on TikTok and all these sorts of things, that the comments are just filled with things like, "Lord, don't let me have a daughter." Like, "Don't let me have a daughter. Don't let me have a daughter." So I'm curious, because you're having a son, Indy, and you have a daughter. Those are very different experiences.
I've said that, but again, like I said, because of being able to have these interactions with younger and older males, and hearing these stories and things, I'm going to have her pretty prepared. It's beneficial for me, and those are, like you said, you see those things. Like, I hear these guys that go out with these girls, and they tell their sexual conquest of how things go or whatever. And it's my first thing I always ask is, what's the relationship with their father? And it's always a non-existent. I'm like, give your kid a hug. I've already got that covered, dude.
Yeah, that's it. It's always like people saying stuff like fatherless, or like, "Please don't let me have a daughter," and all these sorts of things, because of the current, state of the world, I guess. And some of it, again, it's like, on one side, it's this positive movement about people being comfortable and using what they have to be successful. And on the other side, it's like, where is that line? And like that sort
You
of
could
thing.
do so much more. That's where I would stand it came to that
Those aren't
scenario.
mutually exclusive things.
No, they're not. But
I mean, they always. What is the old joke? That she's just stripping to pay for college. It's like, I mean, where it usually goes wrong is where men get involved, and you start having pimps or you start having sex trafficking, things like that. But if someone's just making money, showing off their body, I mean, it's their body, bro. Like people talk about, oh, she's fatherless, whatever. They don't fucking know. If a dude is calling out a woman for doing those things, that man is probably fatherless. And I am very
Well, I
like,
didn't.
I'm tempted not to refer them as a man, more of a boy. Like that is childish behavior.
I wasn't trying to
Oh,
say
I
that
know
all.
you're
Yeah,
not
but,
at all. I'm just saying, like those people in those comments, they're just
Yeah.
trash bags.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
But yeah, if that scenario came up with her when she got older, I would just tell her like, you could do so much more. Like let's think of something else. And I hope she
Yeah.
would come to me if that. That's something. I am first a parent. What is it? There's three scenarios or three categories. There's the adult, or is it parent, adult, and then friend? And I want to hopefully be on the side of being her parent. You know what I mean? Like I want her to come to me and talk about things, but I'm just hoping that she's not scared. Just
Mhm.
whatever it is, just talk to me about it. And that comes back to how I came up. I didn't talk to my mom or my dad about nothing. I just kept it all internal. I think I was just like a blank mind, to be honest. So
I know for me with the technology, wife and I are, like I said, it's easy to speak before we have a kid, but we definitely are not excited about seeing a lot of these kids with the tablets and the phones.
Yeah.
dude,
And
it's crazy. You go out to dinners and you see
yeah,
parents that just like
here, shut up.
they don't. It's like they
Here's
don't
a
want to
phone.
deal with it, and they
Yeah,
literally like melt their brain. Like,
yeah.
please,
Here,
I don't want to deal with you right now.
yeah.
You see
Here's a
kids with the
phone. Here's some
headphones in.
games.
They got the tablet. They're waiting for the food to come.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't
Like
even talk.
here's your hypnosis. Leave me alone.
Yeah, yeah. And when my wife and I went out to breakfast, and we saw a father and a son sitting, and the son, like I said, earphone in, on his phone, and the dad was just kind of sitting there. But I'm like, that could be a conversation. That could be a, hey, how was school? How are things going? Are you dating anybody? Those conversations could be had. That's a good time for you two to kind of bond, and kids on a phone. So we're definitely gonna try to give our child as much as our own life growing up as we can.
Mhm.
But like you said, it's gonna be different because yeah, there might be bullying involved. Why don't you have a phone? You're 7, you're 8. You should have an iPhone. Why didn't you have an iPhone? And I'm like, well, so that's going to be a hard thing to kind of battle. So, like I
Yeah.
said, once again, we'll cross that road when we get there. But we're definitely going to try to have as less technology, at least as like a crutch. We're not going to try to give our
Yeah.
child like no technology and just wait till you get a certain age. But like, here's a computer, here's HTML, here's email, and figure it
Yeah,
out.
because you want them to be modern, right? They need to
Yeah.
know their
They have to,
society. They
yeah.
need
They're
to be
not.
able
They're
to
not
keep up.
Amish.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
exactly.
need to know how to do it, but there should be
It's
restrictions.
the balance.
Yeah,
Balance.
there should
Yeah.
be restrictions. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have my kid doing a bunch of this stuff because I see what's on it, and I'm just like, no, like there's no need for 13-year-olds to be on Twitter. Like
Nope.
there's just not, because
No.
Twitter is a completely unfiltered place filled
Yeah,
with
there's
bots
no
and
restrictions.
Yeah.
like bad stuff, and like there's just no need for that. So
Well, talking about children and accounts, though, I do have a couple of friends who would not mention their child's name on social media. They would say, "Oh,
Mhm.
baby Jay is doing great." They would never put the child's name out there,
No, it's important.
and so I thought that was pretty cool.
I
And
see people like they blur their kids' faces in pictures.
Yeah.
They don't say names.
Yeah.
Like
So
keeping your
there's
identity.
actually like you should. I would venture to say like you just shouldn't put any pictures of your kids online. Like
I have some, but my Instagram you have to be, which I don't add everybody, but it's mostly like friends from work, friends, and
Yeah.
family.
and I could see
But-
that like
but
in a closed circuit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like you could find so many horror stories of like these
well,
people. Someone will comment on this picture. Something super
That
inappropriate
happened to
about a
me.
kid, and they'll be tracing it back, and they'll go and follow this profile. All of a sudden, they found that like someone downloaded all these pictures of their kid and have uploaded them on some other site. with like inappropriate captions and stuff, you know, and it's just like no one thinks that that's ever going to happen to them.
Because
I
we're not
made a
simple.
I
But if
made
you
a
put
reel
pictures of
about
them out there,
Alana sleeping in her bed on Instagram, and I thought a reel was just again, but there was likes from random people. Somehow Instagram took it and put it to the public, and I immediately took it down because
Yeah.
again, it's just like this video of her sleeping with this song about life goes on and on and on, and then like these like random guys are like liking it. I was like, nope, yeah, I get rid of that. I was like, oh my
It's
god,
like,
dude.
bro, I get it,
yeah,
but you're a grown ass fucking man. Don't be
yeah,
liking
like why are
pictures.
you like?
Yeah.
I guess they thought it was wholesome, but I took it, like a scare. So yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely
It's a scary
scary,
place,
yeah.
man. I do want to go back to kind of, and I thought about this as we've been talking about it. I think that being so like my fear is always being with having a kid is those early years, right? Like with babies and stuff. Like it's just, I tell you right now, being around them right now, bro, it's just not for me. Like I get around them a lot at work, you know, and it's just like, bro, I couldn't understand how anyone could do this. It seems like
There's-
such a poor decision.
there's different babies though, man. I know what you're talking about.
But I've already kind of thought about it. I was like, man, when Sarah and India have their kid, like that's probably gonna change a lot for me. Like I just feel like I don't know, man. Like I'm already like, man, I'm gonna get this kid some cool shit. Like it's gonna be lit. Like and I think the same for Jessica. You know, it's like we just haven't really had someone that like close to us who's had a kid. That we're around, you know, that we would be around all that much.
I mean, I've seen how Sarah and Jessica, when they were around Alana, like you can
Oh, they
tell they
love
loved
Alana,
it.
Oh yeah.
But again,
Oh,
like you said, I'm not like super close when you guys are doing that, so it's going to be very
Yeah.
different.
It's gonna. I think it's gonna have a
with
very
Steven
strong
being
influence.
able to be
you know?
around a younger kid more. I mean, you were around Alana
Yeah.
a lot, so yeah.
I do think that it's gonna definitely influence my stuff earlier. I was saying, maybe not right now. Stuff like it may change very quickly,
yeah.
Or they could have a screamy baby, and you could. Be
and then I'm gonna be like,
"No."
up, never.
Glad I
That's
didn't
an
do
X for me.
Yeah. I think about that too because I
Getting
wonder if it's
snipped.
different when it's your kid versus a different kid. Because when kids are screaming in public and being obnoxious in public, I get angry, and
I used to
want
get
to know-
embarrassed. I would pick Alana up and go
oh,
out
I
of the
would
building.
too.
You know?
Yeah, like
Oh,
that's.
you would pick her up and leave the building?
No, I'm saying like
Come here, crying child. Come with me.
Get out of here.
no, I'm saying like I would
Ooh.
be embarrassed too, like if I was in that situation, and I just wonder, like, does that anger subside when it's your own child, or are you still just like, oh my god?
I'll tell you, with Alana, she wasn't a crying baby, dude. You know, I told my buddy like when she was super young, I actually liked it because it's very easy. You just feed them, change them, and just keep them out of the sun. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it was easy, but like it's like way more work. Like he sends me Snapchats all the time of, just like 40 minutes, the kid just howling in the background. So there's the two sides to it, and I
Yeah.
got lucky.
I wonder. Yeah, I'd have
So
to have a quiet
for
kid. I'd
Steven-
return it.
I've had a lot of because I was in that same mindset. I'm like, God, these kids are ridiculous. Now that I'm about to have my own, I'm a lot more sympathetic to it. So maybe that my mindset's already starting to change, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I get it. They have a kid. The kid's, it's not their fault. The
Yeah.
kid's just
Yeah.
doing his thing, and I'm sure they've tried everything to pacify this kid, and it's just, but they can't like live in a bomb shelter with their kid until the kid's like 18, and they're like, all right, cool, now you're good enough to bring out into public.
If they weren't so selfish, they could.
They
Now,
are
see,
ruining my experience.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
though. So that's the thing. Like kids in
No,
a
I get
movie
it,
theater
though.
should not, like. There's certain scenarios, like if you got to go out with the family to a park, or you're going somewhere with a family and a kid has to act out. That's fine. But taking it to like a movie theater when you have an infant, like that's just why. Take the kid to a babysitter, or just don't see the movie, or wait for Redbox. So, but I
Keep
do know a
talking
lot
about
of parents are.
technology.
But a lot of parents that I've talked to nowadays are, most parents are like, hey, I get it, I understand. Especially for the ones who already have kids, and they're like, now they're like 50. And they're like, oh, I know what that parent's going through. I did that. So
I'm with you, Stephen. I'm kind of the same way, like that thought, like hearing a baby like cry, like literally like howling. I'm like, bro, I am physically getting angry. Like you need to chill out, bro. Like, will that change? Like, or will I like have my own kid and be sitting in my house just fuming? You know, will it? You know, hopefully.
I mean, at a point, you would probably be fuming. Like, I think any
or you just
person
get
is
used
going to
to
get.
it.
Anybody's gonna be mad at some point about something their child did or
Oh,
the
yeah.
way that their child cried or screamed or whatever it is, like no doubt. But I mean, it's a fear of mine that I will be just angry.
I think
all
the
the
anger will
time,
probably
just like
change into like helplessness. I think most of the time. Well,
Doesn't
not
sound any better.
sick,
not like
dude.
that, but
I'm
like,
not having kids. He's like, you won't be
but
so
like,
angry, you'll just feel helpless.
well,
Like
no,
God
like
has forsaken you.
when your kid is crying, it it sets off that nature nurture thing inside where you're like, hey, I want to fix what's going on. What is wrong with you? Let me figure out. Either, like you said, either you're hungry, you're tired, or you need to be changed. Like those are your three things you go to. If you check all those things and something's, you're like, why are you still crying? Like, I've turned off your check engine light and you're still going on. Like, what's going on here? So you get up, you try to walk them around, and then that's what I was talking about. Like, you're like, I've done everything you need. What's wrong?
Well, Megan, because of already having a kid, when say that again, Alana was very good, but she would have those moments, and Megan basically just explained that that's the only way they know how to communicate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that you think it's a bad thing, but they're probably yelling, "Oh, this is great! I love this place!"
Why are you
Yeah, I
letting
don't
me
know.
sit in my poop for 30 minutes?
Yeah,
I'm
I
hungry.
don't.
It's been
I'm,
two and a
but the
half
thing is,
hours.
babies,
the
like I
song.
get, like crying babies and stuff. I know that's frustrating, but like, I can kind of get that. I'm talking more about like
Yeah,
that.
the 2 or 3 year olds.
The
Like I
toddler
said,
age, the
yeah.
up to
Oh.
like 5 or 6, where they're like loud and
Temper
obnoxious,
tantrums.
and they won't
Ah,
listen, and they're screaming. I
yeah.
was in Target like 2-3 weeks ago, and as I'm going down aisles, this kid is just screaming in the distance and just going on and on. And I'm going to the next aisle, and I'm just getting closer to him and closer to him. And I'm not hearing anything about, you need to stop. I'm not hearing anything about, we're leaving. I'm not hearing anything. Nothing.
That's
They're just
because
ignoring it.
because they've allowed it. That's what happened.
Yeah, so that's a
they're,
different
with the
they're,
kid
they're just
before, like-
ignoring it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with it. They just let it. They think it'll burn
And I
them
want to
out.
be like, hey, you're ruining my Target experience. You have to leave. Like, you have to leave. So here's something that I think is a big problem with me. But it's not a problem, actually. It's a great thing, and more people need it. I am considerate. I am I'm the dude who, when we're at a party or whatever, I'm going, guys, let's keep it down. Let's keep it down. Like, let's not, like, people, we're getting too loud. Like, other people are sleeping. I remember I was in Atlanta for the event, and everybody's out at a fire pit in the back. And somebody had already come out and told us, you guys have to be quiet. It's after hours. Like, you have to whatever. And everybody's getting loud. I'm the guy going, shh, everybody, come on. Like, people are sleeping. People are whatever. Like, Sean, my brother, aggravates my soul because of how inconsiderate he can be at times. With other people's time, with other people's whatever. Like, those things aggravate my soul, people being inconsiderate. And that's what I view that as. Is that
Wow.
that parent is going and being like, I don't care. While everybody around them is dealing with screaming and crying and whatever, and the parent is not attempting any. I can understand if the parent is trying and the kid's not doing it, because I'm seeing effort, right? I'm seeing that they're trying. I still want them to leave, but the threshold gets raised.
They understand that other people are frustrated.
When they're doing nothing, and I'm standing there just staring at them, like, I will take your child from you.
Now, see, here's
I
it.
will.
bro.
Like, I will take your child.
Disclaimer. But no, I think it's my wife and I were talking about this earlier.
What's disclaimer? I will take your child from you.
Nah, I think it's one of those things you just have to have the empathy for other people. I understand that it's aggravating you and your Target experience, but you're a single person living in the world doing whatever you want to do every day, and for 10 minutes you might hear a screaming child. That's their life.
No, and that's what I'm saying is, again, but they're not even trying. And to
They
me,
don't
that's
need
just showing
that's-
that
whatever,
their
bro.
kid,
Like, it's a
not
public
gonna,
place.
It's not
Don't
gonna
go to
solve,
Target.
It's not going to solve the problem. Is like the thing. It's like, this kid is going to continue to do this. Like, you're not parenting.
But that's the thing, is you don't know that. You don't know their situation, their life, their kids, the way they do things. Like, you just have to. I just look at everything as like, I just don't know what's going on in anyone's life ever. I can't. It's literally impossible for me to know that. So
And
I just go about and live my life.
I get that. And I will try to think about that. But that doesn't mean that every time this happens and I'm watching the parent choose not to do anything, that I'm just supposed to be like, they're probably just tired today. Whatever. Okay, then don't bring your kid to Target. Go to Target tomorrow when you feel less tired.
Bro, like people don't have that option.
Yeah.
I get it. I can still express my frustration, Sean. Like, please let me just express my frustration without you having to be like,
I'm just
but in
trying.
a perfect world, like,
I'm not saying
you're
anything about a
just
perfect
tired.
world. You just
Well,
gotta.
I will say that.
You just gotta have
What?
some
Yeah,
empathy.
Andy, what do you have to say?
Well, I'll say like
Shut
wifey and
up.
I were talking about the parenting styles. So there's like this new movement of like gentle parenting, or like almost like a hands-off parenting, and it's very confusing to me. Where they're like, the kid gets to do what they want to do, and I'm not going to discipline my child. I'm not going to put you in timeout. I understand.
Don't tell me you
it's
guys are
okay.
attempting that.
Heck to the no.
Okay, good
Heck
job.
to the no. But I've seen it where they're just kind of like, oh, that's just Timmy, and you're like, no, you're the parent. You have to decide. You brought this child into the world. It is your job to say, hey, this is right, this is wrong. We don't do that. That's inappropriate. We only do that at home, or whatever the case may be. But you have to give your child the guidelines for society, or else they are going to fail when they're completely on their own.
Those kids
And
in high school, man, remember them like they would literally talk about their relationship with their parents where they were like their buddies. And you
yeah,
would see how they were just getting away with everything. Like teachers couldn't control them. I mean, they were just talking back, doing whatever they wanted to do.
they're telling their moms
And
at home to shut up, and you're like, what?
no, I
What?
don't know if they were doing that because
No,
again,
I've seen it.
yeah, okay,
I've had friends. They're like, oh yeah, they're like, oh, you need to go take out the trash. Shut up, mom. I'll do it in a minute.
That's
and I'm like,
insane.
bro, what?
I'd be
I would-
shot.
I
Yeah.
would be
My mom would have
deceased.
left the house at that moment, purchased a firearm, come back, and said, "Say that one more time."
Yes, I would be deceased. I would be missing from school the next day, and they'd be trying to come dig up the backyard to find me. It's like, I don't know, but that whole parenting style, there's like a whole movement of people who are like, don't discipline your kids, or there's certain ways you discipline your kids, or you just give them a nice talking to, and then
I
that's
agree
it.
that to an extent. Like, your first reaction every time your kid acts up shouldn't be like, "I'm gonna beat the shit out you,
No,
boy."
no,
like,
No,
but
because they're kids. They've got to figure that
again,
out.
you are the discipline in this in their
Yes.
life. Like, they have not developed any like cognitive skill of figuring out what the hell they're actually supposed to do.
That kid in Target hadn't. He needs some discipline.
Should have carted them up and taken them out back.
That's just. But that was one of those ones where I wanted to be like, I wonder if it would work if a random man walked up and was like, "You need to stop." Like, I really wanted to.
No,
just
you'd
to,
probably
like-
get charged with some sort of crime. I'm gonna be honest.
No,
with you.
I'm sure like the mom or somebody would be like, "Don't talk to my kid like that." But you're not talking to him.
Yeah.
You know,
He's got
like,
special needs and he's deaf. I will try to talk to him, but
Oh,
he can't
boy.
hear.
Yeah,
And then you're like,
who
oh,
knows?
I'm sorry.
Awkward.
But yeah. So with parenting, has anything changed with your guys' mindsets? This is probably a bad time to ask this question.
Yeah, it's so fresh in my mind. No, I don't know. I know. What did Chris, who he's not here tonight, but he said something about he thinks there should be lots of tests for people to have before they're allowed to have children.
He believes in
you know-
eugenics.
Yeah, so it's like you can't have kids. You can't.
You're allowed to
handle
have
this.
sex without your condom tonight. You have been blessed by the state. Go forth
Yeah.
and procreate.
Yeah, but
No, I think that so I'm not anywhere near, at least to my knowledge, having a kid. So like not much has changed. So again, I'm not thinking about it really anymore. But like having this conversation has made me realize that I definitely have some dudes that I can come to with questions. Like I'm really happy to have these guys in my life. When the time comes, like I feel more prepared, or at least that I've got some backup. You know what I mean? So I haven't really given that much thought. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've thought about having a kid and stuff like that, but like the people around me, they will have some influence. If obviously if you allow it and things like that, and definitely I think have the most influence on your style and parenting and answering questions and stuff like that. So appreciate Roland for coming on.
Anytime, brother.
Yeah.
Yep. So this concludes our father episode. We want to thank Roland for being on today. We appreciate you, my man, and keep doing what you do. And we appreciate all the fathers out there doing their thing.
Mothers too.
Mothers too, for sure. And until next time, make sure you guys follow us on our podcast. And you can find us at BeHonestMan.com. You can find us on all your favorite platforms. Give us a follow, Twitter, Instagram. Give us a follow, listen up. And until next time, be honest, man.